All right, guys. We're just going live on YouTube audio for you guys, and we say hello to everyone on our YouTube channel tonight. How the hell are you? We are getting into Bigfoot tonight. Goes to the Great White North minus Merle. Merle is sick in bed. We don't know if he's got the vid or not. We're hoping that he doesn't, but he says, prepare his funeral. That's what he's talking about, and Mike is never sick, and he's not feeling very good tonight, so let's send him some wishing power and some healing power, if we don't mind, so that way we can get him better. He feels absolutely horrible that he cannot be here tonight, but we'll still bug Merle nonetheless, because that's what we have to do on Ghosts of the Great White North, so we expect it, he expects it. And before we introduce you to Darcy Weir, who's a good friend of mine and of the shows, along with a couple of great dudes in the Sasquatch field, and David Ellis and Shane Corson, let's give a rundown on everybody who's in our chat room so far. We're going to burn through this. Gorgeous Larry, good to have you back and kick things off. Brett Lewis, we can officially start the show because you're here. Thank you. There she is, everyone, all the way from Florida, sexy Steph Dickey. We have Nate dressed up as Amanda. We have Paul John Tavares, still no Stanley Cup there. Sandra Piper, good to see you. Anthony, thank you for coming on in. Hey, Mary Bond, how are you? Thank you for joining us once again as we scroll on down, because you guys had one hell of a conversation here. And let's go to, where are we? Oh, Jim Bud Royal, good to have you back, man. The Jim Christie is here, everyone. The Jim Christie. Good to have you here, Jim. And Dirty Filth, good to have you here. You're looking filthy as ever. Rex, thank you. I just saw you added us on Twitter as well. Appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. BBD Warrior, good to have you back. Appreciate that. Murray Fisher, thanks for coming on in. Millennium, Lance, appreciate you guys. Scotty Eisner, thank you for joining us. Swamp Monkey, good to have you back. Burrito, you're still making me hungry, even though I had chili for dinner. Oh, there he is, man, the king of Hallmark watching, Nate Rudd out of Spokane, Washington. Yes, he wears a mask around town just so nobody recognizes him as being a Hallmark Channel fan. Chris Jarvis, good to see you. Thank you for joining us. The gorgeous and talented Emily Bigelow, otherwise known as Alaska's greatest athlete, is here tonight. You're looking stunning tonight, Emily. Thank you. 13 past midnight. Good to have you here again. Thank you. Tommy Ireland. Tommy Lee Ireland is here. Plays one hell of a good drum riff as well. And who else we got? Oh, we have Richard Elmore, Sweet Donnie C, Cedric. Good to see you. The Philip Blair. Renee Cruz looking stunning tonight. Jessica McCreary. Oh, my goodness. She is looking very talented and creative tonight. She will be signing autographs after the show. You'll find her down the hall to the left. The Philip Blair, Cat Chaser, good to have you here. Fabster, oh, Cat Chaser, by the way, thank you so much for the super chat. Really do appreciate that. Fabster, good to have you. Aliens visit here, where? They're not here yet. Eugene, thank you for joining us. Vintage Beard, always a pleasure to have your facial hair here, my friend. Rich Hilke's here, everyone. Stone, thank you for joining us. Bombshell Bomber, appreciate you. I think we are caught up. Excuse me, everyone. It started snowing here. So, yeah. D. McKenna, thank you for joining us. Nilbog, good to have you here. Hi, Jenny. Gary Vermeer, you are Dutch, and while Gary is here, because he only pops in for about 6 minutes, it's all that he's allowed. The Dutch religion allows him that only. He is the owner and creator of a good sponsor of ours, Mighty Moose Beard Oil. Mighty Moose Beard Oil, everyone. I'm telling you, this stuff works. All you got to do is spritz a little on your hand, run it through your hair. Does great wonders for the hair. Does great wonders for the beard. It's cheap. Canadian funds. MightyMooseBeard.com. Make sure you check it on out. I'm a big fan of this, and I wouldn't be promoting it if I wasn't. And, yeah. So use code SOR 2019 for that. Okay, promo code SOR 2019. Hey, Andrew, good to have you. Don't forget, you can go to Andrew's website. I forget it right now, Andrew. But you can go to his website, check out the latest interview that I just did with him, which is kind of cool. Tiffany Wise, good to have you here. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Gentlemen, we are about 35 seconds away from launching. Sovereign Gasman, good to have you here. After missing last night, probably with a flatulence problem. Yeah, let's start that. Go there. And, yeah, we're talking Bigfoot tonight, everyone. Bigfoot. Yeah, one of my favorite topics tonight. We're getting into the big hairy man, and no, I'm not talking about the Ukrainians and the Greeks out there. Okay, we're talking Sasquatch. We are on in 5 seconds. Here we go, everyone. Let's have a great show. Of central British Columbia to you listening around the world. This, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. If you want to take a listen to our archives, they are free for you at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. Tonight, it's Ghosts of the Great White North. Now, normally I am joined by my buddy Merle, but Merle seems to be battling some illness. We are hoping he does not have COVID-19. He is very sick at home, and so we ask everyone to send some love and some healing prayers over to Merle because, you know, it's very hard to do this show, very hard, when you can't make fun of Merle. It's terrible. But the show must go on, and tonight we are getting into a lovely, lovely topic that I love, which is called Sasquatch. And a good friend of this show, and I've worked with Darcy Weir in the past on some of his other alien documentaries, and this is a good guy. He's out of Vancouver. You know, he's very talented in what he's doing, and he is following in the success of a previous Bigfoot documentary that was very popular that he filmed called The Unwanted Sasquatch. Well, this time around, he has just released Sasquatch Among Wildman, and we are joined by two of the stars of the show, Shane Corson and David Ellis, and we're going to get into Bigfoot right now with these guys. Darcy, it's always good to have you back on Spaced Out Radio. How are you?
I'm good, brother. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. And you know, you and I actually got to meet last year when we were talking at the Forest Moon Paracon, if you recall that. Right. And it was good to finally meet you, man.
Yeah, man. Good to meet you too. I loved your talk you did on UFOs. That was awesome.
Well, you know what? That's something I do every now and again. Something I do every now and again. But
yeah.
You know, just for a quick second here, for people who are listening in on Spreaker, I think I've solved the audio issue, so it shouldn't be a problem anymore for tonight. So I do apologize for that. But Darcy, introduce us to your friends here, David Ellis and Shane Corson.
Sure. So David Ellis, Shane Corson, you and I met at another conference. I actually met Dave Scott at the conference Paracon down in Washington State. I think it was Bellingham or close to Bellingham in Washington State. But I met Shane Corson, David Ellis at the Sasquatch Summit. And before that, I met Shane at another conference, which is escaping me. But yeah. We connected. I saw their presentation that they did on their recent findings in the Olympic National Park. Basically, they found what seems to be like Sasquatch habitat, like a living ground a community ground, nesting ground of possible wild men, Sasquatch. And my recent documentary, I interviewed them about their findings. David Ellis is a researcher of the audio, the vocalizations, the interactions that have been going on across North America. He's got quite a extensive collection of vocalizations and interactions, which include, like the old wood knocks, rock clacks, howls, all kinds of interesting sounds. And I think he's brought some to listen to tonight with you, Dave. So without further ado, I'll let these guys get to it, talking about themselves a bit. Shane?
Well, first off, I'm going to cut them off right there because I know my buddy Nate in Spokane. Okay, and Nate Rudd's a good guy, good solid guy, manly guy, but imagine my disappointment to find out that apparently Eastern Washington Bigfoot hunters also watch the Hallmark Channel during the winter. And so Shane and Dave, are you guys Hallmark fans, Hallmark channels? The wives trap you into watching this?
Wow. Yeah, I do get trapped. In fact, as we are speaking now on air, I believe my 9-year-old, my wife, and my mother-in-law are watching some Christmas Hallmark channel. So yes, fortunately, you saved me, Dave. You saved me.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I'm a hero.
No, I appreciate it.
I'm sometimes heroes don't wear capes; they wear beards, my friend. They wear beards.
You wear it well. Thank you.
Not a problem. How about you, Shane? Are you safe?
You mean David?
Or David, sorry.
That's okay. No. We have pretty much Hallmark on unless it's a football game. So I pretty much know the lines, know the characters, know the lines. So, I watched it once or twice.
Oh. What's with Bigfoot hunters and watching the Hallmark Channel? Come on. Come on. My goodness. Is
that like more expensive than HBO and like Netflix every month or what?
I don't know. I don't know, but I could tell you this. I'm not going out in the woods with you guys because that could turn into romanticism Hallmark Channel filming there. All right, let's get right to it. Shane, you've been on this show before, along with David once before, and we had such a good time with you guys when you were on. Probably about 6-8 months ago, talking some Sasquatch here. And I got to tell you, the fact that when I saw that Darcy had hooked up with you guys regarding, this new Sasquatch Among Wildman, I was pretty excited because I really liked you guys on the air. There's a lot of shysters in this field. I think you are two of the good guys out there, and Darcy has a real good eye for what's good people in this field, and he picked two good ones here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Darcy, I met him a few years back, and he got me a link to the Unwanted Sasquatch because he wanted to include us into his new production, Sasquatch Among Wildman, and I got to watching the Unwanted, the Unwanted documentary, and I was like, wow, well done. Well, he portrayed this subject matter in a good light. That made me really happy and comfortable working with Darcy, and having met Darcy and spoke with him in person on the phone, I felt very comfortable working with him, and so. Yeah, it's been a pleasure, and I think he did a really good job this time around again. He's a talented individual, and I think he's done this subject matter a lot of justice.
And, Darcy, I've worked with him in the past, and I'll tell you, he's beat the hell out of my voice. That's not good enough, Dave. That's not good enough. I need your tone lower. I need it slower. Can you please talk like a man for once?
Yeah, right.
No, literally. But no, seriously, David, you got to admit, Darcy is the type of guy where a lot of people in the public may not know who he is, but the work he does is very professional, and being involved with something like this had to be a pretty good honor.
Yes, I akin to what Darcy is doing to the work that Ivan T. Sanderson did back when he wrote a book called Abominable Legend, Snowman Come to Life. Because what Darcy is doing is what Ivan did and said, hey, if this is such a crazy topic, why are there sightings and incidents on all continents, with the exception of Antarctica? So Darcy's putting together connections. He's making it known that this is not just a one-off, and we've got a tremendous history going way, 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 way back, thousands of years of stories. So if there's nothing to it, why is it cross cultures? Why is it cross continents? They're everywhere. So Darcy brings this to light with this new documentary, and I'm just very, very pleased to have been a part of it.
I asked Darcy one night why I couldn't be on the film, and he said, because, Dave, you have a face for radio.
I'm sorry. I suppose I'm not supposed to laugh.
Oh, yeah. I'm like, thanks, buddy. Thanks, fellow Canadian there, right? I know Darcy's just shaking his head right now like, shut up, Dave. Shut up.
Come on, man. Look at that. Look at that beauty beard and that beautiful slicked back hair you got there, man.
It is. It is beautiful right now. The problem.
Not a lot of people can afford to keep that hair on their head.
I am going to start selling it. I am.
Moose oil.
Yes, it's the Mighty Moose beard oil that I put in my hair as well to refrain from split ends, because when your hair gets this long, you do have to worry about split ends, gentlemen. I believe it or not, you do. But let's move on here. Darcy, I want to bring you back in here for Ghosts of the Great White North, because, you have a vision. And when you are creating a documentary such as Sasquatch Among Wildman, before you even talk to who you want to investigate in this, how do you storyboard it? How do you get the idea to make it different from what everybody else has already done?
Yeah, so the way that I came about this documentary, I actually first was shooting the unwanted Sasquatch in Dr. Jeffrey Meldrum's lab out in Idaho State, in Pocatello in Idaho State. So he teaches at Idaho State University. He's got this amazing lab with over 500 foot casts. 300 foot casts. Every book that you could ever think of published on Sasquatch, Bigfoot, Yeti, Almasty, Yeren. He's got quite the extensive library on this type of thing. And while I was there, we were chatting after I shot the first doc, and this was back in 2016. And I said, hey, what's this? And I picked up this pamphlet that he had, and it was kind of like a rough draft. And he said, oh yeah, that's something I've been working on. I'm thinking of printing it and, sending it out en masse. And I said, okay, well, is this saying what I think it's saying? And he's like, yeah. It's a catalog of all the different types of wild man relic hominids that can be found around the world. And he said, hey, you know what? You can have that. Keep it. And I said, okay. So on the flight home, I was reading this pamphlet and, flipping through and checking it all out. And I was like, holy crap. Yeah, this makes sense. It makes sense that every culture that's existed, across North America, Europe, Asia, even parts of Africa, into Northern Africa and such, have tales of a wild man, a Sasquatch or Bigfoot type being that has existed and has interacted with the people that live in those areas. And I figured, you know what? No one's really gone into it in depth before that that there's a long history of this. We hear about Sasquatch and Bigfoot sightings across North America even today. Still, every year there's one or two or three or four in different areas all across North America, and that accounts, I think, for hundreds a year. But we don't hear about as often the Yeren, which is a wild man indigenous to China. In Chinese history, the Yeren, which directly translates to wild man, has been written about in their manuscripts and told in their oral tradition for thousands of years. I've talked about before, there's a really incredible story that was published in I think it was the New York Times some years ago, where basically it's common knowledge in China that 3000 BC, there was a warring states period in China between a bunch of different dynasties, and it told of how a captured wild man was presented as a gift to the king of the Eastern Chao dynasty several centuries ago. So several centuries earlier than this time. So the Yeren has been spotted, in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and there's even Yeren hunters, kind of like Bigfoot hunters, roaming the Shenanjia National Rainforest today, looking for signs of this thing existing. And they have foot casts that they take, they have hair samples that they've collected, they've even found nesting sites that Shane Corson and his group, the Olympic Project, have found in Washington State. And it's crazy. If you talk to Dr. Jeffrey Meldrum, he's been over to China. He's met the men that have made those casts to this area. Funny enough, he said he couldn't go into the museum that we feature in the documentary. That there's actually a museum in the Shenanjia area that's dedicated to the Yeren, and they have big bronze statues of baby Yeren and adult female and male Yeren as you enter the park. And in the museum, they show the full history of the Yeren and the Yeren sightings, and this is like an accepted being that has existed in Chinese history by their people. They don't believe it's a joke or some kind of misconception made up by people that are scared of camping or something like that. They say, no, this is real. Although there are skeptics, and there is one featured in the documentary that is a mainstream scientist that says, oh, I think they just saw monkey tracks, or they saw a monkey run into the forest and they think it's an upright ape. But all reports say that they're tall and they're robust creatures. They're anywhere between 7 to 8 feet tall, so that ain't no monkey. But there's more than that. There's more than just the Yeren. There's tales of the Dev, which has come all the way from Iraq across Eastern Europe. And then there's tales of the Almasty, which many say is pretty much a Neanderthal. A Neanderthaloid would be a description of how it looks. It's stout, short, but has kind of ape-like man features, and it's covered from head to toe in fur. And these have been seen in Russia. And then Russia actually has also the Yeti. They say they call their Bigfoot a Yeti, and that can stand up to 10 feet tall.
Yes.
And Dr. Meldrum's been to Russia to investigate that as well.
You know what's really cool is a good friend of this show, Nelson Dellis. He has almost died a couple of times on Mount Everest. He's going to try again, hopefully in 2021, to climb again. But while he is at base camp doing his acclimatizing for the 6-8 weeks that it takes, or 4 to 6 weeks that it takes, he's actually going to go look for Yeti while he's there, and he's going to conduct what could be the first paranormal investigation there on behalf of us.
That's pretty cool. And there's many sightings around that mountainous area, and there have been reports throughout history. And then there's the actual famous Himalayan Yeti, that report was quite famous because the feet look very different from the casts that we get from other sightings of these other creatures that I'm describing. Dr. Meldrum has a cast that was from that area that was supposedly a Yeti sighting, and the foot morphology appears to show what looks like a divergent big toe that's kind of like a thumb on our hand. So that Yeti apparently he thinks is something different. And by all accounts, people say it is a shorter but very robust creature, or was in history. But if we look at the fossil record, we do have the Gigantopithecus that was found in this area of Southeast Asia. It became extinct supposedly anywhere between 200,000 to 300,000 years ago. And Homo sapiens, which are us, we are actually hominids. We're just a more successful hominid at living on the planet because we've killed pretty much everything out there. Homo sapiens started showing up 300,000 years ago. So if you think about that, Homo sapiens showed up 300,000 years ago, and we're still here. We haven't changed much, but we do have adaptive evolution that's happened to the certain geographical areas of where we live. So, Chinese and Japanese, and, they don't have a Caucasian eye fold. And then we have sub-Saharans, which have dark skin, and yada yada yada. These are all adaptations, right? But what I'm saying is, 300,000 years ago, humans, as we know, Homo sapiens showed up, and at the same time, for 100,000 years, there was an overlap of us and Gigantopithecus blackie. Okay?
Right.
So that's one big mondo dude that is, let's say very ape-like, very gorilla-like looking, stood anywhere between 12 to 8 feet tall.
Right, Darce. Hey, Darce, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. We have Darcy Weir, David Ellis, Shane Corson from Sasquatch Among Wildman. Brand new documentary. I highly suggest you go check it on out. Darcy's a good friend of this show, brilliant director of this documentary. We'll be back with these three gentlemen right after this on Spaced Out Radio. All right, there we go. We're clear.
Sorry about that, buddy.
That's all right.
I was rambling.
That's all right. It's the most I've ever heard you talk.
Gotten a bit better, I guess.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Love the studio there. It looks good.
It's coming along. It's coming along, and I have one empty wall here that I'm waiting for a certain guitar. Certain guitar.
Huh.
Yeah, one second.
Yeah, it's lacking that whole area there's lacking a beard. You need to add some
Right
beard.
here?
Yeah, right there.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Guitar beard.
Well, I do actually have a guitar there.
Yeah, you got it. Well, tilt it. Yeah. There's a big hole right there.
Yeah, okay.
Either beard or guitar, one or the other.
I will. I'll get my artist Dirty Filth to draw me a beard for the wall.
I might send you a big Sasquatch carving or something you can pop up in that empty space.
See, I have a little bit here. Hold on, let me move the camera here. There's those two. I know they're.
Oh yeah.
Well done. Well done.
And then way up there behind the guitars.
Yeah, Bigfoot breeding area. Love it.
That was sent to me by my buddy Nate Rudd there. So, and then right here is my Sasquatch lunchbox.
The search kit.
Yeah,
Nice.
the search kit. Yes.
Gotta have it. Yeah,
Apparently, it's really hard to find with the thermos.
Where did you get it?
A friend of mine got it for me for my birthday a few years ago.
Sweet. I'll have to get one.
Yeah.
So you need some impressions, some Bigfoot
You know what?
impressions on the wall.
I am waiting for one. I want one right here. I've only found 2 prints up here with some friends of mine. And I've only seen the 2 prints, and neither of them were castable.
Well, you're in luck. We know Cliff Barrickman, and he's got impressions galore. So we'll have to between Shane and I put our heads together and get you one.
I may have pissed Cliff off when he was on the show here.
Oh well.
You'll get over it.
Yeah. I may have pissed
Just don't tell Cliff that those are where the impressions are going.
We got into a little of a debate because I told him he was politely told him he was full of crap when he tried to make the excuse that when we see the Bigfoot tracks just end in snow or mud, that they are actually reversing themselves in their tracks and going perfectly back into their footprint. I said, Cliff, come on, you're better than that. You're better than that. Don't do this.
Yeah, that would be pretty hard.
Well, I guess we're also claiming that those are Bigfoot tracks. That's a conundrum within an enigma.
Oh, don't tell me we're going to have the science debate here.
Oh no, not tonight.
Because I am more than willing to drop the gloves on that one.
How's the vid affecting the vid-19 affecting 100 Mile?
It's not bad. I mean, there's a lot of paranoia up here, as there is everywhere. And you know, I think maybe there's been since the beginning 10 cases up here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And what does that fill the hospital with those 10 cases, or?
The severe ones get shipped down to Kamloops.
Yeah.
And the minor ones, they have a ward here.
Okay, fair enough. So, and like, I mean, 2020 was probably the worst fucking year ever. But like, I remember reading about how pulp and paper mills were closing down up there at the starting of the year, and then COVID hit, and I'm like, holy shit.
So last September, we had 2.5 of our 3 mills shut down. And then, you know, they finally reopened the one mill almost full time. And then COVID hits, and we're like, you got to be shitting me right now. You got to be shitting me, you know, but.
Wow.
Yeah. All right, guys, we got 30 seconds here.
Okay.
I'm so glad you don't swear on the air, though, while we're actually live. I appreciate that. That makes me want to hug you. COVID style. Where's Merle? Speaking of the vid, where's Merle? Merle, where are you? I can hear him now. I'm here, Dave. Anyways, thank you to Anthony and Cat Chaser for the super chats. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're new. Give us a thumbs up, thumbs down. Here we go with the second half hour. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. Really do appreciate your time. I want to remind you that if you are missing portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Tonight, we're talking Sasquatch Among Wildmen. Director Darcy Weir is here, along with two of his stars of this documentary, David Ellis and Shane Corson. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolute pleasure.
Yeah,
My pleasure.
Good to have you. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
so I guess I'll just finish my last thought. You know, I was basically saying Gigantopithecus blackie showed up at the same time that we showed up on the planet, and there was a lot of overlap, and there was probably tons of sightings back then, and there's still sightings today. I'm not saying it is Gigantopithecus blackie that we're still seeing. It could be a relative, but by all accounts, given the frequency of sightings across North America, China, into Eastern Europe, Russia, all these places, there's still sightings today. So to me, it would point to the fact that there's still tribes of these things living in scarce numbers throughout wilderness.
That opens up a great debate. Darcy Weir, and you being in Vancouver, you're lucky right now because we'd be doing this over a beverage if you were here with me right now, if we were able to do that. But the great debate is this: is it a monkey? Is it Gigantopithecus? Is it something that we just don't know? And Dave or Shane, I'll let you guys kind of jump in here and prove me wrong, because I can tell you this. From everything, I've done over 1,500 interviews and probably 300, 400 on Sasquatch alone, and I am not convinced for a second this creature is a great ape or a monkey like some, I think, very rude and crass researchers try to prototype it as.
Well, I'll start. I'll say that I think from the vast amount of accounts that I've heard, many people, there's some people that say, oh, it had ape-like facial features, right? And then there's another half of those people will say it looked very human-like. Like it was covered from head to toe in fur. It was much more robust. It had a cone-shaped head, kind of like a gorilla, but it had these facial features that still looked somewhat human. And, even hunters have said they've had, their sight on this creature, and they say, oh, well, I couldn't pull the trigger because I thought I was going to kill something that was like a human, and I can tend to agree with you there that it may not be this fully upright ape that many, even John Bindernagel has called it the upright ape, and I respect his analysis there. I think we might be dealing with something that is similar to both. That some sightings you see something that looks more like an ape, and some sightings you see a version of this creature that may have some human-like features. And yeah, I'll leave it at that.
And see, my thing with it is, okay, and not to cause argument or anything like that, but my thing with it is this, okay, humans our brains are meant to they're meant to recognize what it knows, which is how a lot of pareidolia is started. We see shapes in the clouds, for instance, or when we look deep into the forest, we could say, "Oh, well, that looks like a face in the trees," when there's nothing there. I mean, how many photographs like that have we seen over the time of Sasquatch research? So for somebody to say that it's an ape, somebody to say it had ape-like features or human-like features, that's just par for the course that I believe a lot of researchers are taking a little bit too literally. Am I wrong on this, or what do you think?
No and yes. No and yes. So, first of all, if we look at the fossil record, the taxonomic diversity in the primate fossil record is only about 8%. 8% of what actually existed in the past. That is such a small number. So
True.
When we're talking about fossils and where's the fossil record and all that, we've only found about 8% of the primate fossil record. So and it takes a special scenario to form a fossil. That is a huge thing. Now, I always say to people that walks like a duck, talks like a duck, acts like a duck, it's a duck. And a lot of the stuff, especially with some of the work we've been doing over the years within the Olympic Project, I do a podcast myself. I've interviewed hundreds of witnesses in the field and thousands of people on air, and I see predictability. I see the same thing over and over again. You do have those anomalies, which you can throw out as possibly, misinterpretation, misidentification, all that stuff. But a common factor up here in the Pacific Northwest is people are seeing the same thing, doing the same thing. They're seeing it as something primate-like that walks bipedally, sometimes quadrupedally, that has the same physiology as a human, but yet it has ape-like features. So I will never get in the argument of when people ask me, what is a Sasquatch? I don't know what a Sasquatch is, but I'll tell you, from my experiences and from the witnesses I've spoke to and from my field investigations and work with other researchers across North America, this thing probably is some sort of primate. Where that fits in, I don't know. But this is a physical being, a physical entity that acts like it should. It should.
I agree with you on that part, but I think what's even better of you is you are admitting you don't know. And I don't think a lot of investigators out there have the audacity to say such an honest answer. They're all about the monkey. They're all about the ape. They're all about the woo. There is no in-between or intermingling of the statistics or the evidence that is there. And I think it's a smart way to go. Like when somebody asks me, I try and say, look, like I love the woo side. I'll admit, I do. All right. But when somebody asks me, all I say is, I do believe there is something supernatural about this creature. Too many weird things have happened to people, including myself. But I think too many times when it comes to this, we see all of these researchers out there who are trying to make a name for themselves really push towards the fact that they have to have an opinion, and they use that opinion as scientific fact. And I think that's not good for the field. That's my objection to it. I'm not trying to stray off topic here, guys. I apologize.
That's unscientific. I think you got to leave everything open. Now, trust me, I'm not a big paranormal guy. But guess what? I don't close that door. But I'm not a big paranormal guy. Everything I've experienced in the things I've witnessed and those individuals that I've personally interviewed, a lot of it's explainable. I think there's a lot of paranormal stuff out there. Don't get me wrong. I don't tie the two together per se, but like, I don't know all the answers. I will never claim all the answers. I can speak for the Olympic Project, for example. We don't know all the answers. Obviously, if we did, this would have been a done deal. And David, David Ellis, I know you probably got a few thoughts on this as well.
Sure. As the Olympic Project, we are kind of like-minded researchers. I agree with everything that Shane's been saying. We don't know. That's why we investigate.
That's a beautiful
thing,
though.
Which, yeah, absolutely. That's what science is, air quotes, supposed to do, is to follow the facts. So if we find a foot impression, what we want to do is get as much detail out of that foot impression. And does that compare to other things that are suspicious imprints? Or is it more maybe a bear? Who knows? Until you really do the hard legwork and vet the evidence that comes to you, you to jump to conclusions doesn't do anybody any justice. So yeah, we work very hard at looking at the evidence as it comes to us, and our first assumption is, well, this is comes from a known subject. It's it's a bear, or it's a cougar, or and then we start eliminating, well, it can't be a bear because it didn't do this, or this is not part of the bear repertoire. So we eliminate the knowns. And then when you've eliminated all the knowns, then you have the ability to say, well, maybe this is something else. You still don't know what it is. It just goes in the something else category.
And that's where it has to be. But I think too many people are really trying to, they want to be the hero. That's one thing I've learned. What doesn't matter whether it's UFOs, whether it's consciousness, whether it's ghosts or Bigfoot or Dogman. People want to be the hero in this field. Do we have too much heroism, Shane?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, so I talk about this all the time. You have all this social media, you have, podcasts, radio shows, TV shows that are reaching out to people. They want the shock and awe all the time. I can be the guy. And a lot of people have really interesting encounters. I can speak for myself. I remember in 2011, I had an encounter. I know where they're at. I know how to prove this. Guess what? I didn't. And I could speak truthfully. I didn't. I thought I did, but I didn't. So nowadays, you have Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, all these avenues where you can be the day's hero, your 15 minutes of fame. But if you're really, truly involved in any cryptid research or any aspect to this field, so to speak, you got to do your due diligence. You just have to. And that is super important, I think, that people nowadays are more about it's a numbers game, whether it's, how many likes can I get? How many this and that. So I detest that stuff, because there's a lot of truth out there to be found, to be discovered, if you're willing to spend the time doing it. And a lot of people can't, and I understand that, but yeah, you gotta be. It's like walking on eggshells, I think, and I like it that way. I think any serious investigator should be always walking on eggshells, careful of what they say, how they portray themselves. And if you're in it for TV, if you're in it for your 50 minutes of fame, then you're bound to fail. Getting back to working with Darcy. The Limb Project as a whole and us as individuals have turned down many, many TV shows, many documentaries, many different things. Working with Darcy on this project he worked with, I was proud to work with Darcy, and I thought it was a really good accumulation of evidence and stuff. So it separates it from the pack. And I think that's what's really cool about what Darcy's been doing over the years, regardless of the different genres he works with. But in regards to Sasquatch, I think he's done it a really good service, and it's one of those rare avenues that we've actually agreed to work with somebody, and Darcy has done this subject right.
Absolutely, he has. I think Darcy has looked at all facets of the story, and I'm not upset that he didn't call me with my magnificent beard and hair to be on camera with my face to radio. I'm not. Darcy, I'm going to keep bugging you about that, just so you know.
I'm the new Merle. I'm the new Merle.
You are, but I absolutely love you, man. But before we change topics and get real heavy on the documentary over the next 90 minutes of this show, I always tell my listeners a couple of things, okay? Number one, if somebody says they know what the creature is, doesn't matter what we're talking about. If they know all the answers, they're BSers. And number two, especially in the Sasquatch world, never trust anybody who uses the word squatch. Never. I think that means that they don't take it very seriously. So that's what I tell my audience. Am I right, Dave, or am I wrong? especially on the.
Oh, I don't mind the term Squatch, but I don't personally use it. But I don't mind it. That's a personal choice.
Well, Dr. John Bindernagel told me, I don't think I told you this story when you were on last. Dr. John Bindernagel told me when I asked him about the word, and this is why I banned it from the show, is he told me he literally took a deep breath, sighed, and said 70 years of research going down the drain because of one stupid word. And I banned it right there. Banned it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, fortunately, I know I can speak for David as well. Limb Project, I had a really good personal relationship with John Bindernagel. Good. He was a close friend of mine. In fact, one of our running jokes was that the first time I met him back in 2012, he said to me, I bought him a beer and we had our first conversation. He said, "I owe you a beer." And so over the years, he would tell me every time we met up, and he never bought me a beer, but he said, "Hey, I owe you a beer. I owe you a beer." And he passed away a couple years back. It was a great conversation. But yes, that specific word really did bother him. But he said what really bothered him most of all was academia. Academia not taking the subject serious. He called it taboo. It was taboo within the scientific world. So we can talk about names like, Squatch and all that, but until science really as a whole jumps aboard on this to really look at this phenomena, then you can call it Squatch or taboo or whatever you want. I don't get caught up in names per se, but that word there particularly, I know it bothered him.
Yeah, well, the big reason why I bring it up is, the one thing that I try and do with our listeners here is I try really hard to educate the right way. And from when I go online and I see, people calling it monkey, calling it ape, like it's matter of fact, oh, Squatch this, Squatch that. To me, it cheapens the beautiful field of research that it is. That's why I'm very strict on it. And I could be wrong. I could be a jerk about it. Probably am. Let's just be honest. I probably am. Right? But it just, to me, from what I see dealing with this on a daily basis, much like you guys, I think it cheapens the study. I really do. And I don't think that's fair for people such as yourselves in the Pacific Northwest, or people like good friends of this show, Nate Rudd, or even going to the East Coast with Ronald Murphy, the crypto guru, Butch Witkowski and other people like that who've done all this research and are working really hard to prove this, to have it, mucked up by a bunch of people who want to play television and play games. That's my only issue.
Yeah, I mean, if you're referring to people that are collecting hair samples and big footprints and, seeing anatomy and applying scientific methods and then comparing it to like large fossil records of primate type men or hominids rather that have existed, I mean, that's fool's play. I don't know why anybody would do something like that, Dave. But no, I'm joking. I think everybody should do that. I think the first thing we have to defend ourselves in this world is science. Look at COVID-19. We're trying to get this vaccine out so everybody can go back to getting out and enjoying the world and going to Bigfoot and paranormal conferences and stuff. Those were the days when you can go to this type of thing, but now you can't. There's all kinds of conspiracies out there about that. But I think science is still the first line of defense to help us in the world, right? It's what's going to help us colonize the stars is science. Building rockets is not magic. It's science. So I don't know. I disagree a bit. I think there's definitely evidence that this is more of a primate type creature, but we do have that other side of the coin, which is the folks saying, nope, it's a forest ghost, or it's a dimensional portal jumping alien beast, like I don't know. I mean, if they can jump out of portals and go for a run through the forest at the same time, why aren't they just materializing in the middle of a downtown city and going for a walk and then being like, running around the corner, jumping through a portal and disappearing, again, and then it's all over the news. Sasquatch has done it again, disappeared through a portal in downtown New York. But you don't hear about that because actually a clinal rainforest habitat seems to be the most likely place for a ape-like creature like this to exist. And gorillas live in the Congo, they live in this rainforest area, and chimpanzees live in that same sort of rainforest area, and monkeys live in forest area, and it just goes on and on in terms of like logic, how that could work. And I went and spoke with Ron Moorhead and his agent before I went and made this documentary with Shane Corson and them, and everybody loves Ron Moorhead. Everybody loves the Sierra Sounds. Those are some of the best vocalizations out there. And I think after the break here, we're going to hear some of David Ellis's vocalizations and interactions. But he's a big paranormal Sasquatch guy, Ron Moorhead, not David Ellis. And I didn't want to include that in this documentary because I think that takes away from the hardcore science we have to prove that this thing sort of exists.
That stabs me in the heart, my friend. Stabs me in the heart.
I'll take it out and give you a big goddamn kiss.
Oh, I'm going down. I'm going down. Honestly, going down. You know what? Just promise me we'll do a woo one. Let's do a woo one. You and me.
Maybe the next one will be a woo one. Maybe
you gotta balance. You gotta balance.
We'll have the Wu-Tang Clan.
You gotta balance it out. Got it. You know what? I would think exactly like you guys. Okay, exactly the way you are. If I didn't see the pixelation standing by a tree, and then 30 seconds later, my friends and I got roared at. That's what it comes down to for me, is that pixelation. And
so you think they're fuzzy in, like, they're kind of like a blurry creature in real life?
This, I have no idea. All I can tell you is what I saw. And my friends and I saw, when they put like the little squares, when you pixelate something from the ground up until about 8-10 feet in my friend's backyard, in the backwoods of Mission, British Columbia, we saw the pixelation standing there. And 30 seconds later, we got roared at. And that was enough to convince me that there was something more. And sometimes it just takes that personal experience. Maybe. I don't know. I'm just going by what I saw and many other people saw. So that's where it gets a little interesting. Gentlemen, I'm going to get you to hold on, because when we come back from the break here on Spaced Out Radio, we're going to go hard into Sasquatch Among Wildmen. Darcy Weir, the director. David Ellis, Shane Corson, two of the Bigfoot hunters. We're going to play some audio, too. It's a rarity around here. We're actually going to play audio. Yes. And David's going to set it up as well. Lots more on Sasquatch at Sasquatch Among Wildmen coming up on Spaced Out Radio. Feisty. That was a feisty half hour. It's beautiful. Good radio, guys. Good radio.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, remember, we're still live on YouTube. You guys can chat away. Call me whatever you want. I won't hear it. I'm just going to run my dogs outside. I'll be right back, okay?
Beauty. Yep, sounds good.
All right, guys.
Feisty is good. It's all good because, as we are talking about earlier, nobody knows, we won't claim to know anything. What's fascinating to me is the different opinions, and we can get more feisty on the show for sure. We can bring a lot of feistiness for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Well,
for sure.
Yeah.
What we're into, correct me if I'm wrong, Shane, but we're into collecting evidence. So, we go where the evidence takes us. And when you go into the woo, you really can't classify that. I mean, it's a story. How do you get beyond that?
Yeah.
So, I mean, our focus, it's not that I don't discount that. That's just not where our focus is. And that's okay. That's really okay. You go where you like to go. We're going to follow what the physical evidence tells us, and we chase that down.
Yeah. I mean, like, regardless, if people are seeing fuzzy, pixelated, portal jumping Sasquatches or whatever, that's cool. Like, I'm not gonna say that they're lying, but what I am gonna say is that something exists that made the tracks before they saw the portal jumper or the the UFO Sasquatch.
Right.
I'm gonna say something that they saw made these tracks, and I'm more interested in that part of the research. If somebody has hair samples and tracks at the same time as one of these sort of Bill Merrill type stories,
right,
then I will take it more seriously. But every time that I've heard one of those stories, there's no tracks, there's no hair, there's nothing to back it up. It's just somebody that's having a flashback from when they did peyote or something, and they lose it. I don't know. Who knows?
Here's my thing though, real quick. Here's my real big thing when you're tying in paranormal stuff with Sasquatches. Why? A lot of people, the woods are, the woods and the forests are really. I mean, if you're out there at night specifically, and I spend an ungodly amount of time out in the woods. I live in the woods. I have a lot of time that I've spent in the woods over the years. I mean, a lot. I'm out there every day almost, if not every couple of days, and sometimes for a lengthy period of times. I've seen a couple of weird things, but majority of the time I don't. But here's my big conundrum or my big issue. When someone sees, an orb or something weird or a light or anything of that nature, a weird sound, why do they automatically always go to Sasquatch? Because they're in the woods. It's not rocket science. There are very few encounters. There are some, but very few encounters where people have seen a Sasquatch and then they've seen a light. A lot of times people are in the woods and they see a light, they hear a weird sound, and they just associate automatically with a Sasquatch because they're in the woods. And that's kind of what their preposition is. That's what they're thinking. Now, I'm not saying that's trust me, I'm not coming across as a know-it-all. I don't. Trust me. What I'm saying is that why associate the two? Maybe there's something completely different. I've never experienced the one weird light that I've seen in the woods was many years ago with we were doing an Olymp Project expedition, and it turned out after actually walking down towards this light, and it's midnight, we're walking towards this light, end up being a glowing mushroom, a firefox mushroom glowing in the dark.
That's cool.
Had we not walked towards and investigated, we would have assumed that it's some weird light in the woods. It was glowing blue. Well, it was a actual, mushroom. It was a fungi. So I don't think a lot of people actually investigate stuff. They just film it and they go, "Oh, that's weird. Oh, it's a Sasquatch system." So it's just weird stuff. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's people who have a preconception of what they're seeing. They will see what they want to see. And I mean, I'll be honest, like, I haven't talked about this before, but like Ron Moorhead and his agent, I can't remember the guy's name, David something, super sleazy dude. They were like begging me to make a documentary about paranormal Sasquatch. Like they were like, "That's it. We want to make a TV series." all this stuff. And I was just like, nah, like, find somebody else. And I think they did. And I've seen, I think on Amazon, something with Ron Moorhead on it. And it says like Paranormal Bigfoot or something like that. And I'm like, I don't even want to watch it because it'll just bother me. You know, it's just, that's the thing. Like, and people know now UFOs are a big thing internationally.
Right.
And they should be, right? Like, they're real too. But because they're a big thing, people that are in the entertainment business are saying, let's do a crossover. Let's do an Aliens versus Predator. Let's get like
I hear you.
let's get the world of UFOs and start covering Sasquatch at the same time. And maybe we'll get the Sasquatch sucked right up in the ass of a UFO at the end. You know, it's
never know. You never know. You can't rule it out. Hold on, gentlemen.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us tonight. We really do appreciate it. I want to say a big thank you to everybody listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. Also, remember, you can check out all of our archives for free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. What do you got for us tonight, Clam? Oh, Maledicent. Maledicent is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. From the documentary that can be found online, Sasquatch Among Wildmen, we have Director Darcy Weir along with Sasquatch researchers David Ellis, Shane Corson. Gentlemen, welcome back.
Thanks. Thank you for having us, brother.
All right, Darcy, I want to start with you on this one after the great debate in the last half hour. Whew, still sweating over that one. It felt good. Felt good. I want to ask you, Darcy, in regards to this documentary, what were you trying to capture in regards to bringing in all of these great minds to film Sasquatch Among Wildmen?
I really just wanted to capture the in-depth history of supposed wildmen sightings from around the world. And wildmen would be, I think, what we're looking at in terms of Bigfoot or Sasquatch. It's just what we have here on the North American continent. Dr. Jeffrey Meldrum is back. He's, you know, in his lab in 4K, talking the Bigfoot talk and giving us some more in-depth information about the Dev, the Yeren, the Almasty, and the Yeti. And we compare that to the Sasquatch or the Bigfoot. And we talk about how this very likely is all a very similar creature that's existing out there in the wilds. Speaking with the guys at the Olympic Project here, Shane Corson and David Ellis, I was able to make some connections between the nest sites they've found for the Yeren in China and the nest sites that Shane Corson and his team of researchers have found here in Washington State on the North American continent. They found hair samples. I'll let him talk about that some more. But, you know, it's very common for there to be interactions with humans, whether that's in North America or in Asia, Russia, Eastern Europe, Middle East, We hear of vocalizations, we hear of aggressive knocks, and that whether that's wood knocks or rock clacks, all these sort of things happen. And we even analyzed this strange video where these men in Iraq seem to come across a ape-like creature poking its head from behind a shrub, and it's showing its teeth. And in chimpanzee speak, in chimpanzee talk, showing your teeth is not an actual smile. It is they call it the chimpanzee smile, but what it really means is get away from me. These will F you up, these teeth in my mouth. I'm showing them to you so you know this is dangerous, what you're doing. Do not approach me. And so, yeah, again, it seems to be like behavior of something like an ape, something that's using more primitive communication skills. So I'll hand it over to Shane now. Maybe you could talk a bit about the. Is Shane allowed to talk about the nest?
Well, I don't know. Have we unlocked Shane from his ape cage or what? Have we?
Go get him, Shane.
Shane.
Wait, so what am I talking about? Nests?
Let's talk about the nests for a little bit here, because I don't know if a lot of people who are listening will know what you mean by a Sasquatch nest.
Yeah, so many people get confused about nests. Especially in the Bigfoot world, people love to use the word structures, which I actually detest. I actually detest that word more than I detest the word squatch or squatching. I detest the word, so much, but anything to do with structures. But that's just me personally. I know that I don't know anything. Maybe Sasquatch does make structures, but when it comes to, I guess my detesting or my hatred for the word is when people look at our nest or have seen our nest, they're like, "Oh, is that a structure?" I'm like, "No, it's a ground nest. It is these nests that we were led to discover. They were found by a timber cruiser back in 2016 while he was out surveying an area for timber back in 2016, and they are literally, this guy came across them, they're literally ground nests. They're like giant bird nests on the ground, not a structure. They are constructed, they are formulated in a fashion of a circular, more oval in some aspects, but they're built. They're extremely intelligently built, but they're on the ground. There's no overhanging anything. They're just ground nests. If you can imagine big bird building a nest, that's what they look like. Now up here, we've now come across 23 of these nests in an area over a few thousand feet square, sort of setup. But here's the thing. These nests are built on the ground. They're intelligently built. We brought Dr. Meldrum out here a few years back, and we deconstructed a nest, and he knows that some of the huckleberry branches, which these nests are made of, completely huckleberry branches, completely. The huckleberry's been pushed into the ground, and the nests have been formulated around the huckleberry. So it's something intelligent is building these nests, making them, formulating them, and they range in sizes from 3 feet to 8 or 9 feet, and they're over a foot in depth in construction. And it takes a lot of intelligence, I believe, something with a thumb to snap this huckleberry, which ranges in size from 2 feet off the ground to 9 feet off the ground, where some of these snaps are come across. So we basically have 23 nests to date that are formulated, built, and we've also come across 2 different size nests in the huckleberry bushes themselves that are off the ground that look like practice nests. That Derek Randall's actually came across a study where gorillas teach their young to build nests in bushes as a test nest. We've discovered 2 of those in these areas, and of course, I'm going to make this short, but not only do we have these ground nests, we have these bush nests and we have impressions galore. I mean, just this last February, a partner and I, in Todd Hale of the Olymp Project, we came across something actually making one of these nests. We didn't see it, but we did walk across something large making one of these nests. It moved off, and it's a long story, but it circled around behind us and all that. But long story short, after 4 years of working on this, we came across something making another nest in the same fashion, and brought Cliff Berkman out there because we came across hand impressions, foot impressions. We have loads of hair. So something's making these nests. We've not physically seen something make these nests, but we have come across evidence that this is not bear behavior, it's not elk behavior, it's not deer behavior. So we're talking about the Olympics up here. This is really extraordinary because it's unknown behavior. And we have brought biologists out to this area, zoologists, anthropologists, you name it, out to this area, and nobody recognizes this nest behavior. It's completely different to anything they've encountered, other than, like, say, some of the primatologists we brought out to this area and some of the zoologists that work directly with bonobos and cross-river gorillas and different primates, and where they're familiar with nest building. They're looking at stuff going, wow, this is so reminiscent of what we're working with in the zoos and what I've seen in Africa. So there's a lot of familiarity there, but not in the Pacific Northwest. We don't have primates in the Pacific Northwest, at least as is discovered by science.
Okay, so these nests that you call them, structures, what other people call them, they're like trees that are intertwined with each other, covering up areas. How come we rarely see pictures of any type of roof or any type of plant bedding that is actually, covering to keep them dry?
Well, so first of all, I did a piss poor job of describing these nests. First of all, these nests, they're not. No, these nests are
structures.
They're not structured. They're made of huckleberry branches that have been snipped from. Sometimes some of the huckleberry branches have been brought from 25 feet away to construct a ground nest. They're not some of them are intertwined, but mainly they're all huckleberry tips that have been woven together to make a nest on the ground. And so one of the things, like I said, they're completely formulated, built up. They're not just grabbing like a bear. Like a bear usually will scrape a tree and bed down. These aren't beds. These are nests. They're not elk beds. They're not bear beds. These are nests. Now, actually, what's really interesting with your question there, Dave, where these nests are located, they have a ton of cover overhead. They're under a heavy canopy. So we're talking about the tree canopy up ahead. So they have 90 feet off the ground. They have a huge amount of tree canopy that will protect them from the rain. But building these nests, which are over a foot in depth, keeps you off the ground, keeps you insulated, keeps you warm. I've laid in one of these, and it's like a mattress. It's something I would, if it took me, we have actually reconstructed one of these, which was imperfect, to be honest with you. It took us, a buddy and I, over 45 minutes to build one of these nests, which shows you the amount of effort that went into building these and the amount of knowledge. It was extraordinary, but it's super comfy, super bedded down. It's like a mattress on the ground. These are there's nothing. It's not branches like bent in formation. These are like huckleberry tips snapped off of and built and formulated. David, you can talk a little bit more about this as well.
Yeah, please, David.
Well, sure. The area that Shane's talking about with the primary discovery was just a vast area. Maybe, what do you think, Shane? 5 acres of huckleberries?
About 5 acres. Yeah,
that had been completely decimated, as from about some of them were, you thought maybe 9 feet tall, taking them down to maybe 6 feet, 5 feet in height.
Right.
So they whatever it was, they took it off the top. They snapped the huckleberries and pulled down on it in a fashion that they all look the same. So they all have the same tag on it, so it was broken the same method. So it took a hand to do that. So you're down to 2 suspects if it's a hand, which it had to have been. You're talking about a Sasquatch or a human being. Well, the area that they were found in was behind a locked gate by a private timber company owner. So the trees were being marked for harvest, and so a timber cruiser was walking, and we're talking miles behind a locked gate, far from any people. And when he came across these, it was not like any bear scraping that he had ever seen before. And that's how we got contacted to come in and take a closer look at this, because it was nothing that this timber cruiser in all his years had ever seen. Well, the interesting thing about the whole scenario is people just don't find nest structures all that often. It is very rare to find anything that's closely related to a nest. And specifically, none of the nests that I had ever heard of or seen pictures of looked exactly like this nest scenario. This looked like they were hunkering down, whoever made these, for a while. I don't know how long for a while was, but the first nests that we came across, how many was it, Shane? Was it like 7 of them in that
7,
one?
Yeah, originally 7 of them, yeah.
The one of the Olympic Project members served in our armed forces, and he and I looked at the layout of this because we were doing a little presentation for our own group, and Derek drew some X's on this ridge showing where each nest was in relationship to each other. And he and I looked at each other and went, that's a military maneuver, the way those nests were structured. They had an outer perimeter and an inner perimeter. The outer perimeter was obviously protecting the inner perimeter. So if that's a protection scenario and nests are so rare, we're pretty sure that this was a very unique event. And what could be a unique event? Possibly birthing. So when a female is about to give birth, she's going to be down for a while, and after the infant is born, they're going to want to protect it for a little while. So they needed, for whatever reason, to hunker down, and the area that they chose was on a ridge line where they were protected from up above. People coming down, if they heard anything, they could be long gone. Also, there was a stream at the bottom of the finger that they were nesting on. That it looked like the alpha male had 2 large rocks that could have been used for clacking. And the reason that we were pretty sure that they were is that they have been scored. So you can see where they had been actually struck together. So you had the big alpha protecting the stream from down below. You know, you're going to have probably your most activity coming upstream by a cougar or a bear or something of that nature. And they would obviously want to know about that. And they were safe. They figured out where to be and how to do it. So the whole thing comes together to us as this is really a lot of learning, and that's why we brought in a lot of different people to get a lot of different ideas. So
let's get to some audio, guys. You brought some audio along, and I hope our audience is able to hear this, because we don't usually play audio on this show, but we're going to try it out. Hold on. Right now. So describe this first piece of audio. You call it possible whooping.
So is that cut number 1?
Yes, we're going to go down in order.
Okay. Well, it's a real. First of all, I need to set this up. The audio that was collected was recorded by Shane in the second nest area, which is maybe a half a mile, if not less than our primary site, Shane?
Less than that. And, 4 years later, working in this area, trying to look for new nests, we came, like I said earlier, Todd Hale and I came across a possible new nest in the making. I've been walking in on a subject making this. And so we started recording this area. So all this audio is from basically, if I'm not mistaken, David, from the month of March, from this general area.
Right. Yeah. February, March, somewhere in there. The first one that we're going to hear is just your classic whoop. And if people are unfamiliar with whoop, it is a sound that is one of the most often reported vocalizations heard by people from around the country. It seems to be a genre of its own. And this particular one is kind of a deeper whoop. Usually it's kind of a high-pitched sound, but this one is deeper, which suggests to me that it was maybe a male or an alpha.
All right, let's get to it here. Well, I'm going to play it one more time for our listeners. Now, listening to that, for those of us who are amateurs, people may mistake that for an owl.
Okay, so what I do in my analysis, I utilize a software called Sonic Visualizer, which enables me to put the information in a spectrogram. Now, a spectrogram is going to yield a lot more information visually for you. If you can envision as much detail as a fingerprint, well, that's what this a spectrogram will yield information similar to what you're going to get from a fingerprint, because you're able to see so much more detail. So you're adding not only hearing, but you're adding seeing, a visualization. So once you have a visualization of what a whoop looks like, you know that it's not an owl, because you know what an owl vocalization looks like. And the two are completely two different signatures. So it's a visualization. It's not just what you're listening to, it's what I see. So that is the determining factor. Hard to describe over the radio, a visual situation, but these are looked at visually more so than what they sound like.
All right, we've got about a minute here. I want to squeeze in audio piece number 2 here.
Okay.
So the possible whoop.
Number 2 is not a whoop.
Oh, sorry, power strike.
It is a power strike. It is another thing that they do is you may have heard of wood knocking. Well, a power strike is something beyond a knock, and you'll be able to hear what I'm talking about. But it's made by two objects being struck together with a tremendous force. It may sound like a bark, but it is not. It is a power strike.
Okay, here we go. Oh, that is just freaky. Just freaky. Gentlemen, we are going to break that down when we get back from our break here at the bottom of the hour. From the great documentary, Sasquatch Among Wildman, we have Director Darcy Weir. We have David Ellis and Shane Corson, Sasquatch researchers out of Washington State and Oregon. We'll be back with Spaced Out Radio next. God, I love shit like this. I do. Honestly, well, it makes me want to run right to the forest now.
Well, I've got thousands of clips over, oh God, I started recording in 2007.
Mm-hmm. Are you capturing these in daytime or nighttime?
Both. It's not an either or, it's both.
Yeah. See, where we got talked to, like like the samurai chatter that my buddy, and I wish Merle was here tonight because he was with me and heard it with me. We've got nothing in that area. We've had some weird things happen. I'm going to show you guys a picture because I know you guys I've got you guys on Skype.
Show it.
Okay, I will, damn it.
So you got samurai chatter, eh?
Yeah. So in
That's
the area
cool.
I put it, I know you guys probably don't care for it, but I don't really give a shit. I have a gifting site there. And
I care for it.
And hold on, let me get it in focus here.
A basketball?
Yeah, but look what's on the basketball.
Blood?
That isn't wood.
Blood?
Hold on, I'm trying to get it focused here. There.
Is that a fingerprint?
I believe those are fingerprints. I have no proof. No proof. All I can tell you is that whatever it was felt really, really greasy.
Nasty. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's really interesting. You know, we've been talking with a certain individual that does a couple of different TV shows, and something David, right? We've been kind of focusing in on lately. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a theory that they secrete something where it has some sort of a waxy substance, and there's a actual term for it in biology, but it seems to be depositing that on things it touches.
I'll show you another photo here. Hold on. We did have a strange thing happen in that area. I'll show you. Where's the photo here? See that purple thing right there?
Kinda. Oh yeah, lollipop.
Okay, that's one of those fills with gumballs.
Okay.
Right on top of that, when we a week or 2 weeks previous to that, we had a friend of mine had an old worn out Canadian 1960s nickel that his daughter put on a rotting log about 12 feet away from our gifting site at the big tree right there. Okay, and excuse me. When we came back the following week, her nickel was gone. Could have been a porcupine, chipmunk, whatever, raven, crow. But the interesting part about that was the following week we went back, and
Dave, I have a barking dog. I'm going to have to bow out for a second.
But the week we went back into this very secluded area, there was a 2019 nickel put on top of that ball.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I don't know what the hell did that. I'm not saying it was Sasquatch, but it's a little too coincidental that a nickel goes missing in the middle of a forest, and a nickel is returned, put in a place where A, a bird wouldn't put it, and B, a human likely wouldn't put it, because knowing that if it rained or with wind or even snowfall and snowpack falling off of trees, that nickel's going to be knocked off.
For sure.
So it was almost like, hey, I hear them coming. Let's do this. Let's put it there. I don't know. That's what I want to believe.
Well, sometimes the simplest explanation is the right one, man.
Yeah.
It could be it.
Never know. Never know. I don't know. It's just interesting. And the one time we put a trail cam up there for 7.5 days, we didn't get a photo of a single animal. No birds, no mice, no chipmunks, no deer, no cats, no bears, moose, wild horses, nothing.
They banned you.
Yeah.
They were like, We're not. These guys totally tainted our hood.
Right.
We're not going anymore.
Totally, Darce. I could take you there. But you're.
I'd be down.
Yeah.
I'd be down.
Come on up, buddy.
I'm coming.
Good.
For sure.
Hold on, boys. We're gonna get going here in like 5 seconds. Okay.
Wicked.
We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate the time. I want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. From the beautiful Sasquatch documentary, Sasquatch Among Wildmen, Director Darcy Weir, along with researchers David Ellis and Shane Corson, are back. And we are in the middle of playing some audio. And we just played a piece right before the break. And Darcy, I want to start with you on this. You know, you're not a researcher. You're a movie and documentary director. When you hear audio like that, what goes through your mind?
Well, I listened to known audio that's been recorded by other wildlife with the help of David. You know, he pointed out to me that there are baboons that bark, that howl, that make these very guttural, chesty sounding howls, like barks. And we looked at that in the documentary near the end, and we compared that to some of the vocalizations he's recorded out there. Well, actually, one of them was sent to him from, I believe it was North Carolina. And it sounds very similar. And I don't believe there's any baboons that live in the forest of North Carolina. And then he also takes those vocalizations and he compares them to the McNally Wildlife Library, which is an online resource you can use to listen to everything from like coyotes to birds, you know, that live in North America and are cataloged, raccoons. So you know for sure, okay, that's what's making that noise. And David's done that. He's run these sounds up against what is known and cataloged across North America, and it just doesn't seem to sound like those animals. Then you've got the wood knocks, the power, I think it's a power knock that we just last listened to. And the power knock is fascinating because it sounds like something very ferociously smashed something in the distance to, in a primitive way, communicate like, I'm here. If you really want to come here, maybe it's not the greatest idea.
All right. Shane, when you hear that piece of audio of the cracking together, what do you think that is? Is it rocks? Is it, you know, real thick, strong wood, maybe like an oak or something along those lines that is being hit? What do you think it is?
Yeah, so up here in Pacific Northwest specifically, and I can't speak for around the country, but up here, most of the year, even in the summer, it's hard to find something that's not soggy. If you're out in the woods, it's really hard to find a limb that's not soggy that you can beat a tree with, especially like beat the crap out of a tree with, you know, continuously. So I know David and a few others have this opinion that possibly it's mechanical. It's from the chest or a mouth pop, and I'm totally on board with that. And I think that's a huge portion to some of these sounds in regards to Sasquatch when it is Sasquatch. Now, the majority of wood knocks, I actually think there are rock knocks, rock on tree, rock on rock. My experience in 2011, after hearing 5 really powerful, I guess you would call them power knocks, we had a rock come into our camp at 2:30 in the morning, right after those knocks, basically. So just, putting two and two together, the amount of force that took to hit those trees to where we can feel them underneath our tents at that time, I was like, wow. Looking back, I was like, wow, that was tremendous force where we can feel them in our tents. So a limb up there in the Mount Hood area where I experienced my stuff, which is really wet, even in the month of August, and brittle. No, I'm not buying it with a limb. Could have been mechanical, could have been something physical like a chest thing, but no. I think it was a rock on a tree, because then after we had those rock or those knocking experiences, the rock came into camp. Now a rock doesn't. You can find a lot of rocks in those areas that are perfect knocking material, and it's a tool, right? You can take out a deer or an elk or scare some campers off. That's what I think the majority of knocks are, for me personally, is that it's just a rock on a tree, a rock on rock, and then you have some of those other things that I believe are mouth pops or a chest beat or a chest slap, something of that nature. But the majority of them, I think, people call them, wood knocking. I think they're rock knocking.
That makes a lot of sense. Let's go to another piece of audio here, if you guys don't mind. We're going to go to number 3, which is a vocalization. Vocalization 2, it's listed at. Here it is for our audience. All right, so there's a little bit brief for our audience there, but in that sound for number 3, vocalization 2, David, I'm curious. Once again, most of us are amateurs here, and most of us aren't hunters. We don't know the difference between the sound of a rutting deer comparatively to an upset cougar or what have you. How do we know that that is the sound of a Sasquatch and not just an upset animal?
Well, like we've been talking about before, I typically go through what would be the normal suspect. What could it possibly be? Like you said before, how do you know that that's not an owl? Well, I go through hundreds of different owl vocalizations and listen to many different ones. And so far, I haven't come up with a visual match that so that I could rule this out as being, a typical suspect, such as an owl. This particular vocalization that we heard almost sounds like it's saying, "Hey!" And I have recorded that numerous times over the years. The obvious thing was, well, how do you know that's not a person? Well, typically people aren't out in the middle of the woods at 3 o'clock in the morning yelling, "Hey!" So, it's not proof. It's just a suspicious vocalization. I will never tell you that these are Sasquatch. I think they may have possibilities, but I won't tell you definitively that's a Sasquatch.
All right. So let's move on to, let me see, what do we got here? That was number 3. I love these Sasquatch stats. Okay. Interesting and familiar screams. I'm going to play for the audience right now. Do you want to break it down for us first?
Sure. Actually, this is a classic lexicon that I'm following. A lexicon being a group. There has been this signature, and it's not the same sing-songy voice, but it has a sing-song voice nature to it that I call singing. And that has been recorded all across North America. So again, it seems to be specific to the individual doing this, singing, it's never the same. It's always got its own little signature.
All right, here we go. That's just eerie. That is eerie.
Yeah.
I mean, if that doesn't send you for the toilet paper roll in the middle of the forest, I don't know what does.
Yeah, well, imagine listening to it live.
Well, that's what I'm about to reach for the toilet paper roll right now. Look, check it out. Huh? Right there. Right there. I come prepared.
Oh, he's for real.
Yeah.
Always got to have the TV close by when the COVID's around, man.
Exactly. So, I mean, that is just eerie. There's nothing short of eeriness on that one. I mean,
so what would you suspect that might be? I mean, as far as a known animal, if I was to say that could potentially be a known animal, I know that elk and caribou have been known to sing. Okay, so would you think you could go find a elk or caribou doing a singing vocalization?
Very difficult.
What I'm saying in what I do in my research is I would go find that sound that you think that could be the culprit, and then record it, and then run it through the software to look at the visual signature and match it up with this particular visual signature. So that's what I do, and that's why I can say with almost certainty that it's not an elk.
I'm on your side on this one, by the way.
No, that's okay. That's all right.
I am on your side.
All I would say is if you want to be skeptical, then come to me with the vocalization of the animal,
right,
and the recording. I can take it from there. I can compare the two for you. But don't come to me and say, oh, that's an elk. You got to go do your homework like I had to do my homework.
Yeah, that ain't good enough. No.
Come on, Shane. Come on.
That ain't good enough. Come on now.
All right, we're going to play another piece of audio here, guys. And this one is, let me see here. This is number 5. This is the one Darcy got me all excited about. So this is something large in the bush. Should we set it up?
Yeah. Sure, Shane can do that. That's his baby on this one.
Yeah, so I've been recording a lot of audio in this area since, well, this audio came from the month, I believe, of March, late February, March. And so basically what happened was, like I said, Bud and I were scouting an area to look for new nests, and we came across something building something, maybe a new nest, maybe not, but there was a lot of huckleberry breaks, and there was a huge pile of huckleberry. We had quite the scenario of a kind of a crazy encounter where something sounded very bipedal, very heavy, circled around us. And so, subsequently we came into this area and discovered this new nest possibly in the making in the month of February, where we're pretty confident that these nests are made in the month of February. Not every year per se, maybe every 4 years, but that's a story for another time. Now, what we did was we started recording audio in this area. And this sound, without description, you would be like, oh, what the heck am I listening to? But you got to understand this area. There's very little elk. There's, the largest animals in this area are bear. You do have coyote, you have bear, you have deer. Very, very little elk. And so in this recording, you're going to hear something very heavy, either walking around or pounding. I lean towards both. I think you hear something bipedal walking around. You hear something pounding. I know exactly where I placed my recorder, and I know exactly the area. So it really this particular audio for the audience, they won't get much out of it, but for me personally, it's tremendous. It's tremendous. Something huge like an elephant moving through this area, and that's the setup.
You don't have moose down there, do you?
No moose. No, Eastern Washington, not in Western Washington. No.
Okay, so one other question for you: is there any free-range cattle or wild horses in the area?
None of the above in this area. There's no cattle. Yeah,
perfect.
Nada.
Just have to ask because my area where I am, we have it all from moose to free-range cattle to wild horses, and they're all using that area. So it's difficult. Here we go. That is odd. Wow, is that odd?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you need context because you're listening to pounding and different sounds, but knowing the area where I place that recorder, it's tremendous for me. I actually admire that audio more than I do a vocal per se. Knowing the area, knowing what animals live in that area, it's tremendous. It's actually it's a big thing moving through that area, and it was a few days just after we discovered this new possible nesting area. So that really spoke volume to me.
The one thing that I could tell in my headphones that I'm wearing is it was hitting whatever it was hitting so hard that you could feel the compression from those sounds. That takes a lot to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Unbelievable.
Incredible.
No, I Darcy, I'm glad you pointed that one out for me because that one is, out of all the ones so far, I mean, they're great, but that one, I mean, to hear that compression coming through, and I've been around audio long enough to know that if you boost something a little too high, you will get that, but with the sounds in the background, you could tell it's leveled sound. There's nothing that is spiking too much on that.
Yeah, that's very astute of you, Dave. I mean, but yeah, obviously you've been around audio, and that's why, like I said before, we have a lot of amazing vocals, a lot of amazing percussive sounds. That one, I live for sounds like that when I record them because I know the fauna, I know the animal life in these areas, and when I hear stuff like that on my audio, I'm like, what the frick? I mean, that is massive. Yeah, it's massive.
I hear you. All right, let's go into Too Long Screams.
Okay, so you want me to set this up?
Well, maybe. I mean, you've done pretty good so far, Dave. I hope you don't mind.
I don't mind at all. So we're going to hear several vocalizations that I think are by one subject, and then another vocalization by a second subject. And the reason I say that is you're going to hear the first vocalization, and then you're going to hear an overlapping second vocalization that's very short, followed by the return of the original vocalizer. So there's two long screams with a short scream sandwiched in the middle, but there's overlapping. So there's two subjects that are vocalizing, and the vocalizations are the typical what people associate with Sasquatch, the Ohio howl or the long scream. We'll call it that.
All right. Here we go for our audience. Oh, shoot, where to go? There it is. Here we go. All right. That one there, how far away was your recording device from where these sounds were happening?
Good question. We don't know.
No, we don't know. I basically where I place my recorder, and I've done this for a lengthy period of time, and I'm continuing to do this stuff. I don't know. A lot of these sounds are recorded within, feet. Some of these sounds were recorded within a couple hundred yards, and some of them recorded within, further distances. So it's a vast area. You mentioned something earlier, Dave, about the horse and cattle, and this is an area where people tread. This is an area where there's horse and cattle or anything of that nature because it's so rough. The huckleberry is between 6 and 9 feet tall. You can't see 5 feet in front of you. This isn't an area where people are treading, people are hunting or walking or hiking or fishing or any of those. This is remoteness, and it's hard to get through this area. There's no animals, at least domesticated animals in this area. Now, how far away? Yeah, it is really tough to tell. And there's a lot of experiments we can do with that. We can place multiple recorders in this area, which we're doing right now. But to actually figure out how far away these sounds are coming from, it's actually kind of hard to tell. And I don't know. I would venture to say at least a few hundred yards away, if not further.
Okay, so what kind of recorders are you using, and how long are you leaving them out there for? Are they like, are you going with trail cams that have a long battery life?
So trail cams, we're not necessarily utilizing trail cams in this area. We do periodically. Traditionally in this area, I'm using a Tascam DRO5 or a Tascam DRO7. The DRO7 is no longer in use. I think they upgraded the model to DR22. But so we're using like a DRO5 Tascam. At least that's what I'm using. David uses a lot of different things like an Edaroyal. But working with individuals such as Chris Spencer of the Olymp Project, he's really opened my eyes to long-term audio. So in this area, we can record based on some of the stuff Chris Spencer's put together with long-term audio using LS7, which is a tremendous unit, hard to get a hold of. But using that unit and combining it like a motorcycle battery and whatnot, we can record for upwards of between 15 and 25 days. So that's something we have done. A lot of people record for a night or two. We can record now for upwards of 25 days, basically. So, yeah, some of these recordings are from that. The majority of them are from me just heading out to this area every 2 days and replacing batteries and SD cards.
Right. And, yeah, that's what I was wondering. You're not worried about moisture considering how wet the Pacific Northwest mountains are?
No, I'll tell you right now, the Tascam DRO5, I can't speak for all my cohorts. A lot of them cover them in bags and all that. DRO5 Tascam, I just place a piece of bark over it, or I bury it in the ground. I mean, I've had one particular DRO5 Tascam for 7 years now in all sorts of elements up here in the Pacific Northwest, using it for months, if not years on end. And that thing's just a beast. It's a beast. So I highly recommend Tascam for that. But there's a lot of really good recorders. But you do have to protect from the moisture,
Absolutely.
at least rain. But cover it up. Cover it up.
My friends, you guys hold on right there. We're going to go to break here at the top of the hour. Darcy Weir, David Ellis, Shane Corson from Sasquatch Among Wildmen here on Spaced Out Radio. We continue with these gentlemen right after this. All right, guys, you guys chat away to the crowd here on YouTube. I'm just going to run my dogs out one final time.
Okie doke.
Beauty.
So, Shane, I typically put my recorder in a baggie, whether that's really protecting it from the environs. It's worked so far for me, and I guess what you do works for you.
Exactly. It's trial and error. With the Tascam units I use, you can buy them, between $70 to $100.
Sure.
And you get a lot of different things with them, but they're super hardy. As you know, David, they have a lot of elements to them that make them, you can record in, 28 increments, and
28-minute.
Yeah, 28-minute increments. So they're super good that way. And yeah, I mean, and everybody, to each their own. I know you preach the Ederoil, which you've been using for years, and I've never owned one, but I think they're fantastic. I think the most important thing is getting audio out there,
right,
and protecting it. Like I said, with my Tascams, I don't usually, unless it's a really dry night, I don't usually leave them in the open. I'll cover them with a piece of bark or something, and they do great.
I've seen some pretty ingenious methods over the years that people use, including like a PVC and inverting the recorder so that the mics are just below and can pick up what's happening around, just to shield the recorder a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, I our good friend Chris Spencer is texting right now, and what he does, and it's true, I've seen him do this. He does cover them in plastic, but he leaves the mics exposed, which I should probably do. I should probably learn something from Chris. Chris has taught me a lot, and you have, David. And I usually, it's not laziness. It's just I've never had, an experience where I've lost a mic or anything, or a recorder. But I usually just cover them with bark. But covering the basic unit with plastic, leaving the mics exposed is perfect, I think, regardless. Especially, if it's not downright downpouring. I mean, if you're going to be recording in weather where it's downright downpouring, not going to record much.
No, that's been what we've found.
Yeah.
Wind and rain are not your allies.
No, they're not. They're not. But what is your ally is having a recording unit. You don't want a story. Here's the thing that you don't want a story. How many times have we I heard an amazing Ohio howler this time? You're like, whoa, can you share it with me? No, I can't because I didn't record it. And you're like, oh dang. So David, you always preach, and I live by this now. Have a recorder, and if you're a researcher or investigator, or if you're a day hiker, as soon as you get out of your vehicle, turn on your recorder. Damn it, do it. You never know what you're going to record or capture, so do it. And it becomes a hobby, it becomes fun, and that's what this is all about. I mean, it really is fun.
Well, I learned that lesson by leaving some of the best vocalizations in the woods, just like you stated. They're just stories.
Yeah, how dare you? I have no stories like that. No, I got too many. I don't know how many times I've talked with you, David, where I've said, oh my gosh, man, I was out hunting and heard this or whatever have you. And you're like, oh, awesome. Send me the recording. I'm like, yeah, I don't have it. Why not? Oh, I wasn't recording. Yeah. Happens a lot. But Darcy, I mean, here's the thing. We're talking about this. What would you imagine the amount of encounters or stories where people have in these experiences and they don't record it? How many?
Thousands. I mean, there's got to be at least thousands of people out there in North America alone who just haven't even come forward before. I
never reported mine.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Have an experience and they're so spooked out they just don't even want to re-experience it by even talking about it.
Oh yeah. Plus the other sad part about it is there's so many researchers out there. Who do you go with? Right?
Sure. Yeah.
Right? That's the other issue. Who do you go with? So, I may send one to person A, not to you guys, or I send it to you guys and not to person B.
Right.
Right? And unfortunately, nobody is sharing their evidence. That's the shitty part.
Yeah, that's a valid point. So my thing is that there are a ton of researchers out there, and with social media nowadays, it's made it like so much more difficult. You can jump on YouTube, you can jump on Facebook, and you can jump in all these groups, and you're so confused, And this, bring this up, you have so many conflicting things, and I'm sure Dave, you've experienced this, where like, hey, I experienced this. Is it a woo thing? Is it a Bigfoot thing? Is it this or that? And they don't know where to go. They just have no direction. Not that there is a direction. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But they have nowhere to go, and there's a lot of legitimate, solid
save
people
that thought.
out there.
Save that thought. We'll come out. Yeah. We'll come out of the break with that, okay? Because that's kind of cool. This is a good topic. Excuse me. Thank you to Noble Patrick, Fabster, Anthony, and Cat Chaser for the super chats. Here we go.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. We want to welcome back everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on KPNL, Revolution Radio, and TalkStream Live. Remember, you can check out all of our archives for free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Melodescent. Melodescent is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. For the final time tonight, we want to say hello to our good friends from this great documentary that you can find, Sasquatch Among Wildman. Darcy Weir, the director, David Ellis, Shane Corson. Gentlemen, welcome back.
Hey, good to be
Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Now, right during the break, we were talking about evidence, people's reports. With so many Sasquatch researchers out there, you guys are only seeing maybe 1/20th of the reports. Maybe some groups are getting more. Maybe some are getting less, but let's say on average, 1/20th of the reports of actual sightings. How does that affect your work?
It really doesn't, because we talk about, a lot of people talk about, let's get into game cameras. All these game cameras out there. There really isn't. The majority of people that place game cameras out there, they place them within known areas of animal activity. They don't get really remote. So there's that. Then you talk about researchers, same thing. Researchers are like game cameras. They don't really get out there remote, not that they need to per se, but it's a placement of everything. And you got all these researchers, which actually, I disagree. I don't think there's a whole lot of researchers out there, at least serious researchers and investigators. So you don't have that element. I think it's you have a moving needle in a haystack when it comes to Sasquatch. It's not stationary. Up here in the Pacific Northwest, we have over 50 some odd planes that are stationary objects that have crash landed. Nobody can find them. Stationary objects. We're not talking about something that's moving. We're talking about stationary objects. Nobody can find them. And then you're looking for Sasquatch, which I believe is small in number. Good luck. Good luck. It's like winning the lottery. But you can win the lottery if you spend the time out there and do your due diligence. So what we're looking at right now is a phenomenon where there are researchers out there, but not to the effect that everybody thinks. There's not that many, and what are they doing out there? They're not funded by science. They're out there, maybe have a recorder, maybe have a full ear, maybe have this and that. But we're talking about laymen, and I'm not blaming them. God bless them. I'm one of them. I have a lot of equipment at my disposal, but you know what? Still not good enough. So we're talking about people out there doing their best they can, but still limited with their knowledge, with their experiences, with their equipment. So where are you going to go with that? It takes what's the saying? It takes a village to raise a child. Well, it takes academia to get involved in this as a whole. And I'm calling them out, and I've been calling them out for a while now. You get on board with this to help figure this phenomena out.
Well, in the meantime, the Olympic Project, what we are basically doing, or what our goals are, they're stated on our webpage. So if you have had a circumstance or an encounter, and I think, Dave, what you were alluding to is, where does that person go? Well, we are one of those places that you can go, and you can write up a report. We have a report form to fill out. If you want to be contacted, you let us know. We'll contact you. But as far as who do you trust, I think that's going to be up to the individual to ferret that information out. Going to websites, you're going to find out what those folks are about, what their beliefs are, what their belief system is. So if you've had a circumstance like you were talking about, maybe a paranormal situation, well, maybe the Olympic Project isn't where you would go to discuss that, because you wouldn't feel like that they would give you a fair shake. But that's not what we do. I mean, we at the Olympic Project, we'll listen to everybody's circumstance. We'll talk to you about it. We'll give you our best guess as to what's going on if we don't know. And if you've got information that is worthy of being vetted, we'll follow through with that. So there's no one right answer for people. Where do I go to get my question answered? It's a matter of trust, and we hope that we exude enough trust that you will feel that you can share that information with us. But if not, there's lots of different places on the internet that you can go to find that.
But does this not, David, show the weakness of the Bigfoot community? And it's the same thing in the ghost community or the UFO community, that there isn't a database where, no matter what your proclamations are of this creature, that we're not sharing evidence, we're hoarding it because, I believe in the woo, you guys don't, therefore I'm not going to show you what I get, and you guys aren't going to show me what you get. Isn't that a little selfish?
Well, I would say that I will listen to you talk or tell your story. I think that there's maybe a slight disconnect in what we might do. I think we would give you a fair shake. There are people, even Ron Moorhead is part of the Olympic Project. So we understand when people have those scenarios. It's just that as an individual, myself, I follow what makes me tick. So if what makes me tick isn't what you experience, maybe I'm not the right guy. I'll admit that. So, but there are people within our organization that I could steer that person to, like Ron. It sounds like maybe you might want to talk to Ron about what you experienced.
No, and I can appreciate that. I totally appreciate with what you're saying. I guess what I'm saying though is for the Bigfoot community as a whole, it would be so much better if let's say somebody in the province of Ontario could share their evidence with somebody like you in Washington State. That would, whether or not your own personal opinions are irrelevant compared to the evidence that maybe people are recording or videotaping.
Right. Well, I am working with people from all over the country, so
Yeah, let me jump in here real quick. First of all, and forgive me, listeners and all that, but one of the words that's used all the time is the Bigfoot community. I just don't see it. There's not a Bigfoot community because a community is something that acts together.
That's what
There
I'm
is
saying.
no. Yeah, okay, yeah, absolutely, Dave. Yeah, and I agree with you to completely. There is no community. There's factions, there's groups, and a lot of great factions, a lot of great groups doing amazing things. But there is no community per se, and there's no central source to send anything, which is a conundrum all by itself. A lot of people like Limb Project. We're fortunate to work with a lot of great individuals, both academic and non-academic. But there is this divide, I guess, when it comes to a lot of this stuff, because of personal experience and all that. And it's a vetting thing. It's a vetting thing, and it's a personal experience thing, and it's all that, all the above. At the end of the day, don't rely on anybody. I mean, it's really coming down to what are you capable of doing? Who can you reach out to? What are you in it for? Are you in it to prove something, or are you in it to share a story? If you're in it to share something, well, jump on a podcast or Facebook. If you're in it to possibly prove something or collect data, well, the groups like the Limb Project, individuals like Squatchometrics, fantastic individuals to reach out to for data collection. Because, I think David mentioned this earlier, the Limb Project is really not out to prove, per se, the existence of Sasquatch. We've just been collecting data for years for something we're pretty damn sure, and for the majority of us, we know exists. We won't claim to know what it is, but we know that Sasquatch exists, as some of the members of the group. We're just about collecting data for that day that Sasquatch is proven, and it will happen. I really do believe that will be proven. That we just have this plethora of information and data, so that science and other individuals aren't like, oh, hey, what's going on here? It's right there in front of you. Look at what we've been collecting for years. That's what we're about.
Yeah, and I just think it would be so cool. And I realize that it's a little wishful thinking, but if there are so many, if we got rid of these factions, if we got rid of these groups and these attitudes that people have, my big thing is how much evidence could we congregate together to make even a stronger case, not only for those who've had experiences, but for the scientific community as well. I mean, like I said, it's utopic. I don't think it'll ever happen. It's just too bad it won't. That ego gets in the way.
Yeah, I mean, it is utopic in that fashion, but I mean, I just go back to, so basically I lean back on science. Science has proven a lot of stuff. Science has also not proven a lot of stuff. Basically, you look at, like, for example, the Tapanuli orangutan discovered in Sumatra, 2017 was proven to exist. Well, all the natives, the Aborigines out there, were talking about this primate that was out there in Western culture, Western science. We're like, nah, there's not, no. Well, 2017 it was proven to exist. So there was no folklore and all that, humbo jumbo there. This was a physical primate. Just this year, I mean, just what, a week ago, and you'd be familiar with this, Dave. There was a new whale discovered off the 300 miles off the coast of, I think, Mexico or California, discovered based on sounds, bioacoustics, and they had a sighting of it. So we're discovering stuff all the time. Science is a big part of that, but also is the layman, the citizen scientist out there doing this stuff. Eventually, you get academic individuals involved, but it will come into fruition where a lot of stuff is proven. Native Americans, First Nations people here in North America have been talking about the Sasquatch in North America for eons. But Western culture, it's kind of a joke. Oh, yeah, But it will. I fully believe within individuals and groups, citizen scientists, and with the help of First Nations people, Sasquatch will be proven. Now, a lot of people don't want to hear that. Leave them alone. But you know what? I think it needs to be proven. And Limb Project is facilitating that, but not necessarily out to prove that.
Yeah, we're not. That is not our goal to prove the existence of Sasquatch. Our goal is to collect as much information so that when it is proven, that the scientists will have a body of work that they can use. So that's what we're doing, is we're collecting as much information so that when science decides to jump in the ball game, it's been documented in a method that they can grab and go.
Okay. Do you not see how much will be changed if Sasquatch is proven to be real? Now, for those of us who've seen it or experienced it, it's something that is very real to us. But this creature could have some major economic upturn or downturn because of the environments that will be in. I mean, do we really want it studied by science the way that they've treated lab rats? If we find a body, or there's going to be a lot of people who may lose their jobs because of it, whether it's in the forest industry, whether it's in the mining or fisheries type industry, because the government will shut it down, much like they do with endangered species. There's a lot on the line about proving this creature, and some of it's not good.
Some people think that that's actually a reason why the governments of North America have not acknowledged its existence. And if you look at the Yeren, its habitat in China is the Shenanjia National Rainforest, and that is protected rainforest. They have acknowledged to their people that it exists. So protected rainforests, you can't log and mine in that area. If they did the same thing here and they protected vast amounts of clinal rainforest that's across North America, that could be really bad for business. That could be really bad for that area of the economy that many people have their livelihoods. They depend on that, right?
Mm-hmm. Like, I look at my community, and Darcy, you have an inkling of where I live, even though you haven't been here, but my community's small.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And
3 pulp and paper mills, right?
3 lumber mills. Yeah. 2.5 have been shut down. And I saw the devastation of those mills closing down due to the economy in our community. And this is very real. Now, if you throw a new species out there, which is going to all of a sudden create a bunch of habitat, all right, that the government is going to be looking for to try and say, okay, what is this thing's habitat? Where does it roam? Where does it eat? What does it eat? Can we cut down trees in this area? Can we mine in this area? What will happen? I mean, that's years upon years of study and research that areas that would normally be harvested are not going to be able to, and that's going to put a ton of blue-collar workers and a lot of especially rural communities out of jobs and maybe shut those towns down.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, here's the thing. It's catch-22. It really is. If Sasquatch is proven to exist, it's going to change our time in the woods. It's going to change the lumber companies. It's going to change everything, especially in the Pacific Northwest, British Columbia, and depending on where it's discovered. If say it's discovered on the East Coast, so all that changed their culture. It won't necessarily change something on the other side of the country, but it's going to make people think. But I have a feeling that when Sasquatch is proven, and it will be proven, it's going to be up here in the Pacific Northwest or British Columbia, somewhere of that nature. Just my personal feeling. But having said that, yeah, it's going to change everything. Of course it's going to, as it should. I mean, right now we don't know anything. Anybody claims to know anything about Sasquatch is, as we talked about, David, full of crap. we don't know anything. We got a lot of hypotheses. We have a lot of conjecture ideas. And you know what? I have a lot of ideas I think are pretty solid, but I could be wrong. I'm cool with that.
So,
But, yeah.
Dave, I got a question.
Sure.
Why do you think that science would have to shut everything down? If they're still in existence, the Sasquatch, science would have to prove that they are not flourishing before they could start shutting things down. That's what we would start working with.
But if it's
with our knowledge, we would show that maybe logging practices, as they stand now, actually benefit. They actually create habitat for the Sasquatch by going back to shutting everything down and creating ancient forests where the vegetation is not sustainable to life, biological life. Maybe it is just the opposite. So I would say you don't reach for, some assumptions. Maybe what we have learned about the Sasquatch will actually change that particular point of view.
I don't think they're assumptions at all, though, Dave. I don't think it's an assumption at all. When you have a creature that would be a brand new creature, you're going to shut down that area in order to learn its habitat, because science will have to go in there and government studies will have to go in there in order to check the habitat, to research what is going on. Much like the UFO community and what we're seeing with UFOs, I highly doubt that a bunch of Bigfoot researchers are going to be contacted to say, hey, can you help us learn? Now, somebody like Dr. Jeff Meldrum, I could see him being contacted. If John Bindernagel was still alive, I could see him being contacted. But
now you're starting to understand why we do what we do at the Olympic Project, why we collect the information in the manner that we do.
Well, I understand that, and that's why I appreciate you guys coming on. But I think it's reticent to say that there are areas, especially the way up here in British Columbia, where environment and environmentalists have an upper hand on everything with the blue collar workers and the forestry industry, especially here. I think that there is a very good chance that if it is found, and trust me, I would like to see it found. I would love to see it proven. There's a lot of people I could prove wrong, right?
A perfect example of what you're talking about there, Dave, is we were on a show with Dr. Meldrum, and he was saying that in Idaho, in the past, I think it was like 8 years, they started getting reports that there were wolves in the northern part of Idaho, in their forested area. And people didn't believe it. And the sort of greenies, the environmentalists, said, okay, we got to shut things down then in that area. And the government said, wait a sec, we're not doing anything because, this is part of our economy, yada, yada, yada. Long story short, they did a study and they found that the wolf population was returning. They knew that there was a scarce amount of wolves in the past, but they had declared them extinct, gray wolves,
right,
in that part of Idaho, but they had come back. So they all of a sudden were being protected in that area. And that's a perfect example of what could happen in this case.
Darcy, I hate to cut you off there, and David and Shane, we could go all night about this. Great discussion, gentlemen. I want to push everybody towards looking up and watching Sasquatch Among Wildman. Our good friend Darcy Weir and a couple of good American kids, Shane Corson, David Ellis. Thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio. Coming up next, we have the SOR Newswire, and we have the Thought of the Day. Stay tuned. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. Good job, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dave.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
That was good stuff. Good stuff tonight.
I like a little controversy too. I think it spices things up and makes it a little more entertaining. You get people, in the audience going, "Yay for this guy and yay for that guy." So,
Oh yeah, no.
yeah.
You know what? In the end, both you and I are both or all of us are gonna be called assholes, anyways. So
Right.
Yeah.
doesn't
Everybody
matter.
listening.
Doesn't
We're
matter.
assholes. Bunch of
Yeah.
assholes.
Just a bunch of
Love
assholes.
you, man.
Love you guys.
Thanks.
You guys take care. And Darcy, let's talk soon, buddy.
Well, yeah, I'll be in touch, man.
All right,
sure.
bro. You take care,
Yeah,
guys. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
good
Bye-bye.
night.
Yep. Thank you.
Good show. Good, solid show. Now, that's something that I wish that debate we would have done that earlier. That was good, though. I think I held my own. I'm not even a researcher, and I think I held my own. Just saying. Hey, Slim. How are you? I told you I was going to drop the gloves a little bit tonight. I kept my word. Kept my word. They're good dudes, though. Good dudes. Hi, sweet Tina P. How are you? Oh, damn it. I moved my Twitter. Sweet Tina P. Ba-ba-ba-ba. Good times never seem so good. Hi, Wendy Williams. I saw you sneak in there, Wendy Williams. I caught you right there. Duke, what do you think about that? I'm curious your opinion. And where's Hallmark? Hallmark? Of course you probed Sasquatch. You lube it up every night. By the way, I can't get lubed up for the final half hour of the show, Alien Probe Master. You got to be here earlier. You got to lube us up for every show, man. Come on. You're better than that. Wow, Troy, thank you. Thank you, buddy. If I had a hat on, I would tip my cap to you right there. The question was about the big debates that happened. Hey, Reverend Keith. Amen to you. I'm going to sing a song about Troy after the show. I just have to figure one out. Hey, Crow Creek, thank you. I know you're teasing, Troy. I'm still going to make up a song about you, though. I just got to figure it out. All right, we got like a minute here. We don't squatch in here. Hey, Super Quest, how you doing, buddy? Super Ron, how are you? You're a little late. Wendy Williams. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. 10 seconds. Thank you to Noble Patrick, Fapster, Anthony, and Cat Chaser for the super chats tonight. Really do appreciate it. Here we go with the final half hour of the show, everyone. Let's take this thing home and make it fun. We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us tonight. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. I want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Speaking of the news, let's get to it, shall we? The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire at the back end of every show, where we get to the weird, the strange, the wacky, and sometimes it's about damn time. And, you know, I'm a giant baseball fan. Now, I know I'm Canadian, all right, but I love baseball. There is something pure, something traditional. I do hate instant replay in baseball, okay, but something happened today that should have happened a long, long time ago. And mind you, going way back in history, should have never happened at all. Finally, we've come to our senses, and I think it just makes the America's pastime just so much more beautiful now. On Wednesday, Major League Baseball officially elevated the Negro Leagues to Major League status. Commissioner Rob Manfred described the maneuver as correcting a long-time oversight in the game's history. Heading forward, MLB will recognize the statistics and records of approximately 3,400 players who partook in the 7 leagues between 1920 and 1948. In a press release from MLB, this long overdue recognition is the product of evaluation throughout this year, which included consideration of discussions with the National Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum and other baseball entities, the previous and ongoing study of baseball authors and researchers, the 2006 study by the National Baseball Hall of Fame, the Negro League Researchers and Authors Group, and an overall historical record that has expanded in recent years. In particular, MLB commends the work of Gary Ashwill, Scott Simkus, Mike Lynch, and Kevin Johnson, who drove the construction of the Seamheads Negro Leagues database, and Larry Lester, whose decades-long research underlies and adds to their work. MLB credits all of the baseball research community for discovering additional facts, statistics, and context that exceed the criteria used by the Special Committee of Baseball Records in 1969 to identify 6 major leagues since 1876. It's MLB's view that the committee's 1969 omission of the Negro Leagues from consideration was clearly an error that demands today's recognition. And MLB's press release names the following leagues as being elevated: the Negro National League, 1920 to 1931, the Eastern Colored League, 1923 to 1928, the American Negro League, 1929, the East-West League, 1932, the Negro Southern League, 1932, the Negro National League, 2, from 1933 to 1948, and the Negro American League from 1937 to 1948. MLB celebrated the 100th anniversary of the Negro Leagues during the 2020 season with a league-wide celebration that took part on August 16th. You know what? Great move by Major League Baseball. Should have been done a long time ago. This is something that I'm glad we've grown out of, all right, because I love baseball. I love the game. It's a beautiful passion, and it did the right thing here. It corrected a major wrong, and we're all better off for it. And now we get to learn about all these amazing baseball players who had a real love for the game. For nearly 2 weeks, Assistant Secretary of the Air Force, Acquisition Technology and Logistics, Will Roper, has been teasing something big was coming. We're ready. Hope you are too, said Roper in an image posted to his personal Twitter account. Now the Air Force has announced big news was the first ever military flight using artificial intelligence. According to an Air Force press release during a training flight Tuesday night, the Air Force allowed an AI algorithm named R2 to control sensor and navigation systems on a U-2 Dragon Lady spy plane. Officials say this marks the culmination of a 3-year journey to become a digital force, and it is believed to be the first known use of AI on board a military aircraft. That is freaky and awesome at the same time. Putting AI safety in command of U.S. military systems for the first time ushers in a new age of human-machine teaming and algorithmic competition. Failing to realize AI's full potential will mean ceding decisions advantages to our adversaries, said Roper, the Air Force Chief Acquisitions. Flight involved a reconnaissance mission during a simulated missile strike. The Air Force said no weapons were involved, and U-2 was actually flown by a pilot who helped coordinate the R2 on sensor operations. R2's primary role during the exercise was to locate enemy launchers while the pilot maintained and look out for any threatening aircraft. The flight was part of a precisely constructed scenario which pitted the AI against another dynamic computer algorithm in order to prove the new technology, the Air Force reports. Boy, this is just starting to sound way too much like the Terminator series, isn't it? Doesn't it feel like Terminator? We're heading down that road. Oh. In Naples, Italy, Wednesday was not a good day for superstitions Neapolitans. Why? The blood of San Gennaro, the patron of Naples, failed to liquefy despite 2 rounds of praying by the faithful, which some in the southern Italian cities see as an omen of bad things to come. A vial containing the dried blood of a 4th century martyr is put on public display 3 times a year in the city's cathedral, and the faithful pray for its liquefaction, known as the miracle of San Gennaro. It did not happen on Wednesday, despite hours of praying in the morning and a special mass in the afternoon. Fewer people than normal were allowed into the cathedral because of the coronavirus restrictions. Scientists say the substance inside the sealed vial appears to be dried blood, but cannot explain why it sometimes turns into liquid and sometimes it does not. Neapolitans get particularly nervous if the blood does not liquefy on the saint's feast day, September 19th, but less so on the other 2 days the vial is brought out for public veneration, this Saturday and before the first Sunday in May and on December 16th. When the blood failed to liquefy on September 19th, 1980, a massive earthquake hit southern Italy 2 months later, killing more than 3,000 people. On Wednesday, the city's cardinal, Crescenzio Sepe, told the faithful not to be over-dismayed. If something needs to melt, it's the hearts of the people, he said. Moving on, Winter Storm Gale, not to be confused with our news lady Gale, although they both can act the same at the same time. Well, Winter Storm Gale, though, is a major winter storm expected to produce heavy snow and freezing rain in the mid-Atlantic from Ontario and Quebec all the way through the northeastern United States. Snow is expected in portions of the Central Plains, especially in Oklahoma, before the system moves eastward and strengthens. First, it all comes from an air low pressure. Will move from central Texas, producing moderate snow along the Central Plains, west central Oklahoma. May see snowfall of around 4 to 6 inches, and travel will be difficult because nobody has snow tires down there. Low pressure system will then move eastward and is expected to strengthen off the southeast coast. This will produce major winter weather impacts for the central Appalachians, or is it Appalachians? Heard it both ways. And the mid-Atlantic to the northeast on Thursday and Friday heading into the weekend. Oh, yes. Additionally, a strong area of high pressure over Quebec will filter colder air east of the Appalachian Mountains, which will help generate storm gale. Maybe that's what I should call Captain Shirk from now on. Storm gale. There are times where, what? Yes, you're storm gale now. Storm gale. That's what you are. All right, let's go on. You know, it's another one of them stories. They're becoming weekly, everyone. They are becoming weekly. All right? A 39-year-old man has been hospitalized for doing something stupid. What was he doing? Swimming in the ocean. Got bit by a shark in the waters off Siesta Key in the Gulf of Mexico. He reportedly walked home after the attack, which took place Tuesday morning after suffering wounds to his hand and his arm. A woman called 911 upon discovering his injuries and had him taken to Sarasota Memorial Hospital. Hey, Sarasota, that's where the Macho Man Randy Savage was from, where his status and the severity of his injuries have not yet been disclosed due to privacy, as the Brits would say, privacy. In the 911 call, which can be heard, the woman says they need help right away because the man is bleeding to death. Because, you know, why should you, after getting attacked by a shark, walk home instead of maybe asking someone on the beach to call 911? I mean, I don't know. Florida man, maybe. Probably the best excuse. Anyway, shark attacks, unprovoked, are very rare in the waters off of Siesta Key, with just 7 unprovoked shark attacks since 1882. In fact, shark attacks are a rarity along Florida's west coast, with incidents tending to be concentrated in the waters off of Volusia and Brevard on the east coast. However, the waters off of Florida are home to a wide variety of sharks that will kill you, including bull sharks, tiger sharks, great hammerheads, lemon sharks, blacktip sharks, reef sharks, and don't forget great whites because, you know, we'll just throw those in. They're everywhere. They are everywhere. Florida was the shark attack capital of the world in 2019. 21 of the 64 unprovoked attacks were confirmed worldwide to take place off the coast of the Sunshine State. It's just simple, people. Don't go in the water. All right? That'll kill you. That'll kill you. And you know the conspiracy about the Black Knight satellite in space? Supposed to be artificially made, approximately 13,000 years old. That supposedly it is in a NASA photo. Well, the agency says the object glimpsed very occasionally and detected sometimes over the decades, probably a piece of space junk lost from a mission. But believers cite history dating back to Nikola Tesla of observations of a polar satellite many millennia older than human technology. Could it come from ancient aliens? Well, who knows? At the time, there was an influential theory that Mars had canals made by some kind of intelligent species. The importance of canals for worldwide commerce at the time, without a doubt, influenced the popular interest in canals on Mars, NASA explains. The zeitgeist coil surely have affected Tesla, a genius by any measure, but still a human trying to understand the confusion of things he may have encountered. The believers, though, explain that the Black Knight satellite conspiracy got a high-profile boost from Gordon Cooper, one of the Mercury 7 astronauts. Cooper's story of seeing a UFO wasn't confirmed by NASA documentation at the time, but he doubled down on his belief in the alien conspiracy theories in his book Leap of Faith, An Astronaut's Journey into the Unknown. This, together with the storied link with all-time science icon Nikola Tesla, have given a sheen of credibility to Black Knight. The narrative has been picked up over the decades, but almost every major publication that covers conspiracies like it, including the popular paranormal exploration podcast, Spaced Out Radio. It said another one, but I'm going with mine because I should. I'm not going to promote someone else here. Anyways, a Canadian astronaut will take part in a lunar mission for the first time in our country's history as part of the NASA-led Artemis project. The government announced the mission, Artemis 2, will send a crewed test flight sent into lunar orbit in 2023. However, it does not involve an actual landing on the moon, according to the U.S. Space Agency. No, we can't trust the Canucks with that. I'm proud to announce another first. Canada will join the United States on the first crewed mission to the moon since the Apollo missions. Minister for Innovation, Science and Industry Navdeep Bains said in a news conference, this will make Canada only the second country after the U.S. to have an astronaut in deep space, he said. Baines did not identify the Canadian astronaut chosen for the mission, the first to the moon since 1972. The announcement came as U.S. Vice President Mike Pence last week unveiled an 18-strong group of people who could go to the moon as a part of the program. Canada is one of 8 countries, including Australia, Italy, Japan, Luxembourg, the United Arab Emirates, the UK, and the United States, who have signed a treaty to participate in NASA's Artemis program, which aims to return humans to Earth's nearest neighbor by 2024. Yes, we're going to plant that Canadian flag over there, and then we're going to apologize to the moon for it. Then we're going to set up a Tim Hortons, a hockey game, and a brewery. Well, with our luck, we'll find beavers on there, too. Anyways, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, with that horrid beard, has stated that Canada's participation in the Artemis program is part of the country's new space agency, which will invest $1.6 billion across 24 years. All right, we're going to space. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. One more story here. North Carolina couple said they are trying to solve a little mystery of a message in a bottle that traveled over 1,000 miles from Prince Edward Island down to their state. Ann and Roy Huntley said they were walking along the beach when they found the glass bottle with a note inside. The couple said they couldn't remove the cap from the bottle, so they ended up shattering the glass, only to learn moisture had erased much of the message from the paper inside. I guess about 75% of the note was illegible, said Roy. The Huntleys said the author's name and address were among the pieces of writing that ended up erased from the paper. Oh, they must have been using a Uniball 207. Never sticks around in water. But they were able to make out PEI for Prince Edward Island. It's been a journey. Anne says, well, of course it is. It's 1,000 miles. Anne, come on. The couple said they are hoping the author of the message will come forward to help fill in the blanks. Yes, that would be kind of cool. Thought of the Dave happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, then read your responses on the air because we love the audience participation around here. Today's Thought of the Dave is as follows. Your opinion: do we really want to solve these paranormal and supernatural mysteries? What would we do after? Marty, one of our favorite vets, thank you for the clown, the kitty clown. If they solved all those paranormal and supernatural mysteries, I would go and get a degree in them. Chip, of course we do. What's next is tomorrow's problem. Also, I'm psychic and stuff and solved this BS years ago. Well, thank you, Chip. I appreciate that. Really appreciate that. All right, let's move on here. Barry, if we really solve these perplexing unknowns, the result would dramatically alter our lives in ways we could not even imagine. We would learn of a new form of endothermic energy that allows remote viewing, precognition, and RSPK to function. Yes, energy without heat that could do work to help propel the human condition in a Star Trek reality on many levels. Rachel, solve the mysterious of another planet. Huh? What? Kara, ooh, great question, Dave. Where's your answer, Kara? Where's your answer? Grant Cameron, as Bohm stated below, these mysteries will be a whole new level of reality. Wash, rinse, and repeat. Davey, we will use what we have learned from these to try and explain the next set of strange occurrences before we again realize that we need to reframe our understanding in order to truly comprehend those, and so on, and so on, and so on, until we are truly one. Nate, I'm actually torn on that. With Sasquatch, I feel like people have the right to know that they are real, and in our forests, it always makes me angry when government authorities lie to the people. Part of me would miss the search for the answers and the mystery of it all if it's finally revealed. Gale. Storm Gale. When you meet someone for the first time, you have just begun the adventure that is getting to know them. It's the same with paranormal mysteries. Having them identified as real and a part of our existence is just the beginning. Then we have lifetimes to really get to know and understand them. Becky, great question, Dave. In my opinion, most people want the answers to the possibilities but would be disappointed if the answers were mundane and would possibly deny them, continuing to find something more exotic. Kimberly, great question, Dave. If we solve them, what do we do with the information? We only have to look for more to solve, right? Doreen, yes, I second that. Stephen, Newcomb, humans destroy what they don't understand. Teresa, there's always a mystery. Non-stop mysteries. Nicole, time to take out the garbage. Don't know what that means. Thank you, Nicole. The Ukrainian watermelon from Saskatchewan. Little Ronnie Moniak. That's when the real journey begins. Mary, solve another one. Carrie, quest is too fun, but if everything was figured out, we'd have to see how to get along and learn from them. That's a whole new game. Danny, maybe if we solve some of the paranormal, we might find that as a race, we all have a lot more in common, that maybe we could get along a little better. Brian, you fool yourself if you think anyone will solve these mysteries, but I talk about that on my new podcast, These Mysteries. He only has like 1,600 podcasts. That's for sure. Gabe, let's have a Coke together. Kevin, I want all the answers of this paranormal stuff once and for all. Then I can get back to my true life calling, getting an accurate count and charting the location of each freckle on the bodies of movie stars head to toe, fingertip to fingertip. And Dave Scott, thank you. This question right here, I am in love. No, I do not think we really want to solve too many mysteries. I'd rather have some magic left in this world. Great answer. Bobby, it is more useful to accept and acknowledge their existence than explaining them. Ron, I don't know. Maybe fix all the holes the gnomes chewed in my water line. James gets the final word. Somewhere, something incredible is waiting to be discovered. It's what we do to infinity and beyond. Thank you to everybody in the Thought of the Day. We'll do it all again tomorrow. Thank you to Darcy Weir, David Ellis, and Shane Corson for joining us on tonight's show, and Captain Shirk for the SOR Newswire. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, in your cars, at work, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat room, Spreaker, YouTube, LGAB, Rep Radio, Facebook, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Your snark was beautiful tonight. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, say it with me, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night. But tomorrow, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, yep, we've got room for them too. Good night. What is happening? That's a good show. Very good show. A little bit of fireworks, some firecrackers there. Oh, yeah. Right. Excuse me. Doo-doo. Talked too much today. we go. Matthew, how you doing? I ate a big bowl of chili before. Lots of hot sauce. Lots of good hot sauce. Yeah. Burn my throat a little bit. Need more hockey. Always need more hockey. Never go wrong with a little hockey, man. Download. Hey guys, I'm just downloading the show. I'll be right back. All right. I'm back. Sorry for blowing my nose. Let's sound. This. I'll be with you guys in a quick second. Yep, that. Shall we? Central British Columbia, to you listening around the world, it's Share Revolution Radio. Help make the website. Tonight, it's Ghosts of the Great White North. Show must go on, and tonight we are getting previous Bigfoot doc for you.
I'm good, brother.
Darcy, it's always good to have you back on Spaced Out Radio. How are you?
All right. Yeah, there we
I'm good, brother. Thanks for having me.
go. All right. Oh. Ah, Ben, thank you so much. You're officially drunk. Have one for me if you don't mind. I appreciate the super chat, Vinster. Thank you. Here. Put that away. Copy. Oh, wait. There we go. They still have 900 lines. Are those still a thing with the advent of the internet? Abs being part my abs being. Got it. You know what? I would think exactly like you guys. Okay, exactly the way. Just going by what I saw. I'm gonna play audio. Yes, and David. I wish I was at the Moose right now. Wish I was there. I'm going to the dentist tomorrow. That's what I'm doing. Going to the dentist. I like the dentist. The thing I don't like about the dentist, the sound of that. I know I got a cavity. Maybe 2. I haven't had cavities in years. But I know they're there. I haven't, totally my fault. I haven't been to a dentist since I moved up here. I used to go all the time, a couple times a year. I just love having my. So. I want to test something out. It's going to test something out. Oh, dude. Ever tell you how much I hate editing these programs? I do. Sucks when you gotta work after you work. Audio programs, I don't mind. I find them very easy. Video editing, it sucks. I wish I could find someone to help me because I have some very big plans. Hey, Overbuilt, how you doing? Hey, Bim Jim. Give me a Bim Jim. My throat's a little sore. That's why I'm not singing. I have a Vietnamese hot sauce that is brutally hot. Brutally hot. In fact, I may put some in my chili tomorrow night. Ever. Unite's owned by. Night switching to MP3 is very, very slow. All right, guys, almost time to get that verification code ready. You know, you want to be verified before going to bed tonight. I'm more than willing to verify you. How I roll around here. Always give, give, give. Like Santa Claus. All right, tonight's verification code is, people, 599197. 599197. Verify wisely. You don't want to go through the rest of the night being unverified. What I do for my voice is I will go upstairs as soon as we're done. I'll take a couple of shots or a teaspoon of really hot sauce, burn my throat, burn all the germs in there, everything that's causing my throat to be sore. Then I will have an orange, get some vitamin C in me. I'll rub some Vicks Vapo Rub on my chest, and tomorrow I will be fine. That's what I will do. Hot lemon and tea doesn't work. At least for me, it doesn't. Ginger doesn't work for me. Oh my God, Overbuilt. You got to be careful if you're playing with ghost peppers, man. You don't scratch your balls before washing your hands a couple of times. You just don't do that. I'm off tomorrow, so I'm gonna hopefully sleep in till about 8:30, 9 o'clock. That's usually when I like to get up. Usually I get up a little bit earlier because I like to take my son to school, or at least to the bus stop. Drunkish, that's a lame excuse for having your balls after you chop up ghost peppers. What's the password? What's the code for? It's to verify you. That's what it's for. Make sure you are verified. There, get there. Yeah, I've done that accidentally, Fap. I've done that. You don't want to be doing that. Don't want to be doing that. That sucks. Definitely don't want to be doing that. You know what else helps heal your throat? Not talking. Not talking helps heal your throat really, really quickly. Yeah, I'll burn my throat. Here. I wish it was, Tina. Wish it was. Heats up your balls pretty quickly, let me tell you that. We've all made that mistake. Wouldn't say it's worse than peeing on an electric fence. No, no. Not at all, Binster. Not at all. You're officially drunk. You're not translating well right now. It's on the show tomorrow. Tomorrow night on the show. Seeking Paranormal Answers with Alan Wright. Could be a good show tomorrow. Be a good show. Oh. Oh. And Sasquatch Night on Friday, yes. I'm gonna try something here. I'm gonna turn off my dump button, and I want you guys to tell me if my lips go out of sync. All right, I've turned off my dump button. Now the big question is, are my lips off? Yes. They are? Okay. On that note, I'm going to bug you guys. Oh, and lower audio on the radio. Tell me if this gets louder. I get louder? Testing 1, 2. Is that louder? How's that? Is that a little louder? That's louder? Okay. So, on that note, I'm going to shut this down because I'm tired and I'm already downloaded everything. So, I'm going to see you guys tomorrow, hopefully with cleaner teeth, and go get changed. So, anyhow, excuse me. Thank you for everybody in the super chats: Vinny, Patrick, Babster, Anthony, Cat Chaser. I really do appreciate the love and support. Love and support of everybody who's signed up recently. And all of you, you guys are awesome. But time for us to go to bed. I am tired. I'm tired. I'm going to sleep. Have a good one, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow night.